So, let's dive deep into a theory that slowly unfolded over many years, a secret so carefully concealed that when it finally emerged, it felt both astonishing and inevitable at once. This is the story of Rhaegar plus Lyanna equaling Jon, often abbreviated as R plus L equals J, arguably the most iconic and celebrated mystery in the entire Game of Thrones saga. For the better part of the series, the true parentage of the man known as Jon Snow remained one of the greatest enigmas, a puzzle that gripped fans and shaped countless discussions. Was Jon merely the illegitimate son of Ned Stark, raised in the shadows of Winterfell, bearing the heavy stigma of a bastard? Or was there an even deeper, more profound truth hidden beneath the surface? It wasn't until the later seasons of the show that the answer finally emerged, reshaping the entire narrative. Jon Snow was not simply Ned Stark's bastard child. He was, in fact, the secret offspring of Rhaegar Targaryen, the crown prince of the Targaryen dynasty, and Lyanna Stark, Ned's own sister. Born of fire and ice, this union represented the coming together of two powerful bloodlines, merging the fierce passion and mystique of House Targaryen with the steadfast honor and resilience of House Stark. This revelation was far more than a mere plot twist designed to shock viewers. It fundamentally altered the way we understood Jon's identity, his place in the tangled web of Westerosi politics, and his destiny in a world teetering on the brink of chaos. Yet, long before this secret was openly confirmed, the most dedicated fans had already begun to suspect the truth, painstakingly piecing together subtle hints and cryptic clues scattered throughout both George R.R. Martin's books and the television adaptation. The story's emotional core begins at the infamous Tower of Joy, a location wrapped in mystery and heavy with significance. This is where, in the aftermath of Robert's Rebellion, a brutal civil war that toppled the Targaryen regime, Ned Stark finds his sister Lyanna gravely wounded. There, in her final, fleeting moments, she entrusts Ned with a secret so powerful it would shape the fate of the realm, the true identity of her newborn son. This scene wasn't simply about a dying woman's last request, it was a solemn vow, a promise to protect a child who embodied the hope and peril of two great houses. Ned Stark, renowned for his unwavering honor and integrity, chose to honor this promise above all else. Despite the burden it placed upon him, he concealed Jon's true lineage from the world, even from his own wife, Catelyn Stark. To everyone else, Jon was a Stark bastard, an outsider in his own home, a symbol of scandal and shame. Within the Stark household, this secret sowed tension, particularly with Catelyn, who saw Jon as a living reminder of Ned's supposed betrayal. But Ned's silence was never about dishonor. It was an act of profound protection, shielding Jon from the wrath of Robert Baratheon. The king, driven by a burning vendetta against all remaining Targaryens, would have hunted the child without mercy. The consequences of Jon's true parentage ripple through the entire Game of Thrones narrative, sending shockwaves through alliances, loyalties, and claims to power. As the legitimate son of Rhaegar, Jon possesses a stronger claim to the Iron Throne than nearly anyone else, including Daenerys Targaryen, who for much of the series believes herself to be the last living Targaryen heir. This revelation introduces a profound inner conflict within Jon, raised with the values and culture of the North, fiercely loyal to the Stark family and their homeland, yet tied by blood to the fiery legacy of the Targaryens. Even after learning the truth, Jon continues to see himself as Ned's son, embodying the Stark ideals of honor, duty, and humility. This tension between birthright and upbringing becomes a central theme in his personal journey. On one side, Jon is the loyal Northern Lord, the former Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, and eventually the king in the North. On the other, his Targaryen heritage binds him to ancient prophecies and legendary figures that loom over the story's epic scope. Among the most significant is the prophecy of Azor Ahai, the prince who was promised, a mythical hero destined to rise again and save the world from an encroaching darkness. According to this prophecy, a chosen warrior will wield a fiery sword known as Lightbringer to defeat the shadowy others, the undead forces threatening all life. Jon's unique lineage positions him as the living embodiment of this prophecy. His Valyrian blood connects him to dragons and the element of fire, while his Stark heritage roots him firmly in the icy north, the origin of the White Walkers, the otherworldly threat stalking the realms of men. This duality makes Jon Snow the literal Song of Ice and Fire, a living symbol of the very title that defines the saga itself. Beyond prophecy, his connection to the Targaryens grants him a rare, almost mystical bond with dragons. When Daenerys Targaryen finally brings her 3 dragons to Westeros, Jon is seen interacting with these majestic creatures in ways no one else can, apart from Daenerys herself, further emphasizing his extraordinary heritage. In the end, the theory of Rs L plus equals J was far more than a clever fan speculation. It was a deeply woven truth that enriched the narrative with complexity, emotional weight, and historical significance. It reminded us that identities are rarely as simple as they seem, that family and destiny can be tangled in surprising ways, and that sometimes the greatest secrets are hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. Dragons have long been woven into the very fabric of Westeros' legends, known for their fierce loyalty to those who bear Valyrian blood. This bond runs deep, almost mystical, and it is this profound connection that breathes life into the relationship between Jon Snow and the dragon Rhaegal. The way Rhaegal responds to Jon is no mere coincidence. It echoes the ancient heritage that Jon unknowingly carries within him. Named after his father, Rhaegal's acceptance of Jon as a rider symbolizes more than just trust. It signifies an unspoken recognition of bloodline and destiny intertwined. This connection is not just a reflection of lineage, but a powerful testament to Jon's true identity emerging from shadows of doubt. This revelation of Jon's heritage causes ripples far beyond his personal journey. Those around him begin to see him in a different light, reevaluating what they once believed about his place in the world. Daenerys Targaryen, a key figure in the struggle for the Iron Throne, faces an internal battle of her own. Throughout the final season, she wrestles with the harsh truth that Jon holds a stronger claim to the throne than she does, a fact that shakes her to the core. But this conflict is not solely about who is next in line by birthright. It runs deeper, touching on the very qualities that define a leader. Jon is beloved by the North, admired for his courage, and respected for his unwavering dedication to the realm's safety, often putting its welfare above his own desires. These are virtues Daenerys recognizes in herself, yet increasingly, others find these traits embodied more clearly in Jon. Despite the newfound awareness of his Targaryen blood, Jon remains deeply conflicted. The political landscape of Westeros is fraught with danger, ambition, and betrayal, yet Jon never seeks power for its own sake. His focus stays fixed on a far graver threat, the looming invasion of the White Walkers and the existential peril they pose to all living beings. This steadfast commitment to protecting the realm highlights Jon's true nature, a man whose honor and sense of duty transcend personal ambition. Even when the opportunity to embrace his birthright arises, Jon's reluctance to seize power speaks volumes about his character. He defines himself not by the blood that courses through his veins, but by the actions he chooses to take. The significance of the R plus L equals J revelation is not limited to confirming Jon's parentage. It fundamentally reshapes the narrative of his journey. From his humble beginnings as the supposed bastard of Winterfell, Jon grows into a respected leader at the Wall and ultimately ascends to kingship. Yet beneath this rise lies a profound internal struggle over his true identity. Was he a Stark, loyal to the North and its values, or a Targaryen, heir to dragons and a contested throne? The truth reveals he is both, a bridge between two great houses and legacies. But above all, Jon remains a son of the North at heart, embodying the resilience and honor that define its people. In the end, discovering his true lineage adds rich layers of complexity to Jon's story, but it does not alter the essence of who he is. The boy who once believed himself a mere bastard becomes a pivotal figure in the fate of Westeros. His enduring sense of honor and his unwavering commitment to doing what is right shape him far more than his bloodline ever could. While Jon's true parentage dramatically altered the way fans understood one of the series' central characters, an equally intricate story has quietly been unfolding behind the scenes, a web of secrecy and political intrigue known as the Varys Io conspiracy. This theory delves deep into the shadowy world of Westerosi politics, where whispers and covert schemes wield immense power. At the heart of it lies Varys, the enigmatic master of whisperers, whose loyalties have long been a subject of debate. Varys has always presented himself as a guardian of the realm's balance and stability, a man working behind the curtains to protect Westeros from chaos. Yet, many fans have suspected a deeper agenda, a hidden motive that transcends mere service to the kingdom. Central to this theory is the idea that Varys, together with Io Mopatis, a wealthy merchant from the distant city of Pentos, has been orchestrating a grand plan for years, if not decades, to restore Targaryen rule to Westeros. The evidence supporting this theory gained momentum after a secretive conversation between Varys and Io Mopatis was revealed in the dungeons beneath King's Landing. Their subtle exchange hinted at a carefully laid scheme with far-reaching implications, a plan that had been set in motion long before Daenerys or even Aegon had entered the scene. This alliance between the mysterious master of spies and the unlikely merchant from Essos paints a picture of deep-rooted political manipulation, with the two pulling strings across continents to influence events in their favor. One of the key moments tied to this conspiracy is the marriage of Daenerys to Khal Drogo. While on the surface, this union appeared to be a straightforward attempt by Viserys Targaryen to reclaim the Iron Throne with the help of a powerful army, the theory suggests something far more calculated. Daenerys' eventual rise to power, her evolution into a formidable leader and conqueror, was anticipated, if not actively cultivated, by Varys and Io. Their influence shaped her path, guiding the Targaryen resurgence from the shadows. However, the conspiracy does not end with Daenerys. The introduction of Aegon, a claimant in the books said to be the son of Rhaegar Targaryen, adds another layer of complexity. Many fans speculate that Aegon is not a true Targaryen at all, but rather a puppet figure carefully placed by Varys and Io to serve their ambitions. This suggestion challenges the very notion of legitimacy and the foundation of rightful rule. Is Aegon truly the son of Rhaegar, or is he a Blackfyre, a descendant from a Targaryen offshoot with a contested claim to the throne? As the story progresses, the Spider's involvement in Aegon's fate becomes more apparent. Throughout the series, Varys carefully cultivates an image of a man dedicated to the people's welfare, but the conspiracy suggests his true allegiance lies with the restoration of the Targaryen dynasty, a goal he has been steadily working toward for many years. His covert conversations with Io Mopatis, especially in the shadow dungeons of King's Landing, reveal that the groundwork for the return of the Targaryens was laid long before Westeros was aware of Daenerys or Aegon. One of the most fascinating aspects of this theory is how it reshapes our understanding of Varys' actions throughout the series. From early on, he seemed to subtly undermine the Lannisters, carefully positioning himself as an advisor while working against their interests. This suggests a master plan, with Varys maneuvering pieces on a vast political chessboard to ensure the eventual resurgence of his chosen rulers. But if we take a closer look, every move made by the master manipulator known as the Spider can be viewed as a carefully orchestrated step within a far-reaching scheme designed to undermine the great ruling houses of Westeros. This deliberate weakening of powerful families does not serve chaos for its own sake, but instead appears to clear a pathway for a Targaryen's return to the Iron Throne. His calculated interactions with pivotal characters like Ned Stark and Tyrion Lannister extend beyond mere political balance or survival. They function as critical pieces in a larger chess game aimed at restoring the fiery dynasty of the Dragon. When the Spider helps Tyrion escape at the close of Season 4 and subsequently chooses to flee Westeros, it is tempting to see this as a simple retreat or self-preservation. However, within the context of this grand strategy, this departure fits perfectly. By removing himself from the immediate dangers of the kingdom, the Spider positions himself to work behind the scenes alongside powerful allies in Essos, most notably a shadowy figure named Yo. This partnership sets the foundation for the staged arrival of Aegon, a young claimant whose legitimacy and indeed existence are shrouded in mystery. The timing of the Spider's exit is no accident. It grants him the freedom to coordinate events far from the watchful eyes of Westeros' established powers. Later, when the Spider surfaces again, pledging fealty to Daenerys Targaryen and advising her on how to rule, his true motives remain frustratingly ambiguous. Is he genuinely committed to the realm's welfare, or is he maneuvering to elevate Daenerys, and by extension Aegon, to a position where they can reshape the political landscape according to his design. This ambiguity fuels much of the intrigue surrounding his character, making it difficult to separate his actions from self-interest or from the greater vision he harbors. The Spider's mastery lies in his control over information, with a vast network of spies, affectionately known as his little birds. He gathers intelligence that keeps him several moves ahead of every player in the game. This dominance over knowledge grants him immense power, enabling him to conceal his true agenda behind layers of secrecy and deception. Throughout the series, we are led to believe that he is a man detached from ambition, someone who seeks only the realm's stability. Yet, this theory paints a different picture, one of a man with a profound and subtle ambition, not for personal rule, but for the restoration of the Targaryen dynasty, or at least those who claim to be Targaryens. Yo's involvement in this conspiracy is equally vital. As a wealthy and influential figure based in Essos, Yo provides crucial resources and connections that empower the Spider's plans. His ties to the Golden Company, a formidable mercenary force with historic loyalties to the Blackfyre faction of the Targaryen family, add complexity to the unfolding drama. These connections hint that Aegon's claim might be an elaborate ruse, a fabricated lineage carefully constructed to rally support from Westeros' fractured noble houses and war-weary populace. Together, the Spider and Yo represent a partnership steeped in secrecy and manipulation, using the vast lands of both Westeros and Essos as their strategic playing field. Fans of the series have long debated the true objectives of the Master Whisperer, and this theory forces us to ask, what is his ultimate endgame? Is he simply a kingmaker aiming to restore the dragons to power, or does he harbor a deeper, more personal ambition hidden beneath the layers of political intrigue? This conspiracy invites us to reconsider the very nature of power in Westeros. Perhaps the true rulers are not those who sit visibly on thrones, but rather the invisible architects behind the scenes, orchestrating events and controlling the fate of nations. The Spider's story, woven with secrecy and careful observation, reveals a figure thriving in the shadows, whose plans might have been far more intricate and far-reaching than the surface narrative ever suggested. As we peel back the layers of these hidden plots, another critical conspiracy emerges, the one surrounding the Purple Wedding. This event, where King Joffrey Baratheon meets his sudden and shocking demise, is often viewed as a simple act of vengeance or poetic justice. Yet this theory argues that the assassination was not a chaotic explosion of hatred, but a meticulously planned act, one possibly sanctioned or even orchestrated by none other than Tywin Lannister, Joffrey's own grandfather. This revelation adds yet another twist to the complex web of alliances, betrayals, and power plays that define the brutal and captivating world of Westeros. The notion that Joffrey's death was far more than a mere opportunistic murder finds strong support in the complex and strained relationship between the young king and his formidable grandfather, Tywin Lannister. From the very onset of Joffrey's reign, it was glaringly evident to those who observed closely that he was uncontrollable, impulsive, and dangerously unpredictable, traits utterly unsuited for the delicate task of governing the Seven Kingdoms. His reign was marked by a series of cruel and erratic decisions, such as the merciless torment he inflicted upon Sansa Stark and the impulsive, brutal execution of Ned Stark, actions that directly conflicted with the elder Lannisters' meticulously crafted vision of stability and enduring power. Joffrey's reckless behavior acted like a spark in a powder keg, triggering a cascade of events that rapidly thrust Westeros into turmoil and civil unrest. His volatility and penchant for cruelty showed no signs of waning, which for someone like Tywin, known for his cold, calculated approach to power, would have been deeply alarming. The idea that Tywin could tolerate such a liability on the throne seems implausible, given that the very survival of the realm depended on measured control and precise governance. One of the most glaring examples of Joffrey's defiance against Tywin's guidance was his rash decision to execute Ned Stark. This act was not only impulsive, but blatantly disregarded Tywin's strategic counsel. The consequences were immediate and severe. The Northern Lords, once cautious allies, rose in rebellion, transforming into fierce enemies of the crown. This rebellion further destabilized the realm and shattered any semblance of peace that Tywin had hoped to maintain. The young king's inability to govern prudently made it impossible for Tywin to execute his vision of orderly rule, and the tension between the two figures simmered beneath the surface, erupting in key confrontations as the Purple Wedding approached. One such pivotal moment captures the raw power struggle between them. In this exchange, Joffrey attempts to assert his royal authority over Tywin, only to be met with swift and unambiguous dismissal. This interaction reveals a fundamental truth. Despite wearing the crown, the real power in Westeros did not rest with the boy king, but rather with the shrewd patriarch pulling the strings behind the scenes. Joffrey's incompetence was painfully apparent, especially to Tywin, who understood that the boy's reign was an unmanageable threat to the family's dominance. It is within this context that the theory emerges. Tywin, fully aware of Joffrey's flaws and the chaos he wrought, saw his grandson as a dangerous liability, someone who had to be removed for the greater good of the realm and the Lannister legacy. The natural successor to the throne, then, was not Joffrey but his younger brother Tommen, a gentle, more compliant figurehead who could be easily molded to serve the true ruler's will. By elevating Tommen, Tywin could re-establish control, ruling Westeros with the precision and stability that had eluded him under Joffrey's erratic rule. There are subtle but telling signs throughout the lead-up to the wedding that suggest Tywin was prepared, perhaps even resigned, to the young king's downfall. While others focused on Joffrey's increasingly unstable and cruel antics, mocking guests, threatening Tyrion, and tormenting Sansa, Tywin remained unshaken, his attention fixed elsewhere, on marriage alliances and the consolidation of his family's future power. His calmness amidst the chaos hints that he might have anticipated the impending tragedy, or at least saw it as an inevitability rather than a catastrophe. In the immediate aftermath of the assassination, the differing reactions of those close to Joffrey provide further insight into the Lannister family dynamics. Cersei, the Queen Mother, is overwhelmed by grief and rage consumed by loss. In stark contrast, Tywin quickly pivots, focusing his efforts on securing Tommen's position. In a chillingly pragmatic moment, he withdraws Tommen from the turmoil of the feast for a quiet, serious discussion about kingship, about the qualities of a true ruler. For Tywin, Joffrey's death was less a personal tragedy and more a political opportunity, a chance to cultivate a new monarch who would be obedient, manageable, and an effective vessel for his own ambitions. Another key player in this deadly intrigue was Olenna Tyrell, famously known as the Queen of Thorns. Her motivation for orchestrating Joffrey's poisoning stemmed from a fierce desire to protect her granddaughter, Margaery, from a volatile and dangerous king whose cruelty threatened to undermine the Tyrell family's influence. However, Olenna's actions may not have been executed in isolation. Given the mutual advantages that the Lannisters and Tyrells gained from Joffrey's demise, it is plausible to imagine Tywin either tacitly endorsing or at least turning a blind eye to Olenna's plot, an unspoken alliance forged in the shadows of power politics. Tywin's swift return to business as usual after the murder reinforces this interpretation. His ability to emotionally detach from the violent death of his own grandson, while others around him are engulfed in confusion and anger, speaks volumes about his priorities. To Tywin, the survival and supremacy of House Lannister transcended any individual member, even if that member happened to be a king. Joffrey's removal cleared the path not only for a more controllable ruler, but also provided an opportunity to deal with another thorn in Tywin's side, Tyrion. The trial that followed the assassination revealed a striking truth. The primary objective was never truly about justice or uncovering the real assassin. Instead, it functioned as a calculated political move to eliminate Tyrion, who had long been a source of irritation and embarrassment for Tywin. By framing Tyrion for regicide, Tywin simultaneously removed two significant obstacles, the unpredictable, dangerous king and his troublesome son, in a single, masterful stroke. For a man like Tywin, whose entire existence revolved around the ruthless consolidation of power, the events of the Purple Wedding played perfectly into his grand design. With Joffrey dead, the Lannisters installed Tommen as a pliant monarch, restoring the family's grip on the realm with a quiet and unchallenged authority. Tommen's reign marked a new chapter, one of calm obedience, where the true ruler remained the calculating patriarch behind the throne. This interpretation aligns seamlessly with what we know of Tywin Lannister's character: pragmatic, cold, and always several moves ahead. Whether through direct involvement or willful neglect, allowing Joffrey to perish was a calculated sacrifice, a harsh but necessary step in securing stability in a kingdom rife with turmoil. After all, Westeros was never a place for rulers who lacked control over themselves or their kingdoms. In the brutal Game of Thrones, survival demanded nothing less than absolute mastery, and Tywin Lannister embodied that ruthless reality. Ultimately, this theory urges us to peer beneath the surface of the well-known sorrow and upheaval that unfolded at the infamous Purple Wedding. It compels us to ask a far more profound question. Could the chaos, the bloodshed, and the tragedy have been carefully orchestrated, a deliberate step in a grander design? In the brutal world of Westeros, where power is the only currency that truly counts, it is not difficult to imagine a calculating man like Tywin Lannister viewing the assassination of his grandson not merely as a heartbreaking loss, but as a strategic opportunity, a chance to reshape the game in his favor. While the kingdoms south of the Wall grappled openly with their battles for dominance and survival, a far quieter yet no less potent intrigue simmered in the cold reaches of the north. This was a plot woven in shadows, stitched together with threads of loyalty, legacy, and secrecy, known to some as the Great Northern Conspiracy. At its core, this theory suggests that the Northern Lords were far from powerless pawns caught in the turmoil below. Instead, they were masterminds in their own right, quietly scheming behind the scenes to crown Jon Snow, the perceived outsider, as the king in the North, fulfilling the last wishes of Robb Stark, the fallen king of the North. But this was not simply another scramble for power or a mere political gambit. The conspiracy embodied something deeper, an unyielding commitment to honor, loyalty, and the fiercely independent spirit of the North. For these lords, it was never about mere titles or the glittering allure of the Iron Throne. It was a fight to restore the rightful leadership of their homeland, to uphold the legacy of House Stark, a family that had ruled their lands for generations and was woven into the very fabric of Northern identity. To truly grasp the breadth and depth of this conspiracy, one must trace the path that led to its inception and understand how the Northern houses carefully positioned themselves to seize this moment. In the wake of the brutal Red Wedding, where the Stark family suffered devastating losses, hope seemed all but extinguished in the North. The Boltons, notorious for their cruelty, seized Winterfell, turning it into a fortress of fear under the iron-fisted rule of Ramsay Bolton. Meanwhile, Stannis Baratheon made his calculated move, appealing to the Northern Lords in a bid to rally support for his claim to the throne. Yet, despite the pressure, many of these lords had already pledged their true loyalty to House Stark. Outwardly, they may have bowed to Ramsay or feigned allegiance to Stannis, but their hearts remained steadfastly with Robb Stark's vision. According to the theory, these lords were quietly and methodically working to carry out Robb's final wishes, which included crowning Jon Snow as the rightful ruler of the North. Robb's will, which named Jon as his heir, was a closely guarded secret, known only to a trusted few. Even though Jon was raised as the illegitimate son of Ned Stark, in the eyes of these loyalists, bloodline and honor transcended questions of birthright. To them, Jon's Stark blood made him the most fitting leader to rally the North. The Lord's strategy was subtle and cunning. Rather than confronting the Boltons or Stannis directly, a battle they were unlikely to win head-on, they allowed these two adversaries to weaken and exhaust each other. Ramsay's vicious brutality earned him many enemies, while Stannis, although honorable and determined, was ultimately an outsider in the North. By letting these forces clash and bleed, the Northern Lords bought themselves time and preserved their strength, biding their moments for the perfect opportunity to rise. Adding another layer of mystery to this already intricate web was the infamous Pink Letter, a cryptic message sent to Jon Snow at Castle Black, supposedly penned by Ramsay Bolton himself. The letter taunted Jon, daring him to come south and reclaim Winterfell through battle. However, many fans of the story speculate that the letter was not truly Ramsay's handiwork. Instead, It may have been authored by the Northern Lords themselves, a carefully crafted ruse designed to lure Jon back into the North. Their goal, as the theory suggests, was to pull Jon into the fold at just the right time, positioning him to assume his rightful place as the North's leader. Central to this conspiracy is the unwavering loyalty of the Northern houses to House Stark, even in the darkest days following Winterfell's fall. Numerous noble families remained quietly devoted, waiting patiently for a true Stark heir to emerge. Among them, figures like Wyman Manderly, the Lord of White Harbor, played a pivotal role. Manderly's apparent loyalty to the Boltons was nothing more than a mask, a facade behind which he secretly plotted their downfall. His actions reveal the lengths to which these lords were willing to go to restore Stark rule. One unforgettable moment in the books reveals Manderly serving Ramsay Bolton a pie baked from the flesh of the Frys, the very family responsible for the horrific Red Wedding massacre. This grim act of vengeance, subtle yet unmistakable, underscores where his true allegiance lay. Manderly's patience, cunning, and quiet resolve made him a key architect in the ultimate downfall of the Boltons and the restoration of Stark leadership in the North. Beyond the intricate political maneuvers, Robb Stark's will itself was a powerful declaration. By naming Jon Snow as his heir, Robb not only defied traditional expectations, but also demonstrated profound trust in his brother's character and capabilities. This act of faith cemented Jon's place in the hearts of the Northern Lords, fueling their determination to see him rise as the North's rightful king, carrying forward the honor and legacy of House Stark into a new era. Robb was well aware that Jon possessed the rare combination of strength, honor, and innate leadership that could rally the fractured North into unity, despite Jon's own hesitation to step fully into that role. The will, carefully crafted and circulated among the Northern Lords, served as a legitimate and compelling foundation for their support of Jon, even if it meant openly defying the reigning authorities of the time. This document wasn't just a piece of paper, it was a symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope for a land long battered by war and betrayal. But the true genius of the Northern Lords' plan lay in their use of deception as a shield for their true intentions. They outwardly pledged loyalty to the Boltons or Stannis Baratheon, masking their genuine allegiances so as to avoid immediate punishment or suspicion. This strategic facade allowed them to buy crucial time, patiently waiting for the moment when the stars aligned and their covert efforts could burst into the open. The ruse was delicate but effective. No one dared question the Northern Lords' supposed support for the ruling powers, even as behind closed doors they plotted to crown Jon as the true king in the North. The conspiracy delved deeper still, revealing a web of carefully manipulated events designed to sow chaos within Bolton-controlled Winterfell. Small acts of rebellion flickered like embers throughout the region. Strategic alliances were forged in shadows, misinformation was skillfully spread like wildfire, and subtle acts of defiance chipped away at the Boltons' fragile grip. Each of these moves was part of a greater, unified plan to destabilize the regime, to fracture their authority from within, clearing the path for a Stark heir to reclaim the ancestral seat. When Jon Snow was finally declared king in the North, it wasn't merely a title being bestowed. It was the culmination of years of quiet maneuvering, sacrifice, and unwavering loyalty. The Northern Lords' fidelity to House Stark, their subtle machinations, and their steadfast refusal to bow to outside rulers all converged in this historic moment. This was a victory not only for Jon Snow, but for the entire North, a land and a people long committed to the ideal of a Stark ruling from Winterfell once more. Yet this conspiracy was about far more than just reclaiming power. It was about preserving the core values that define the North: honor, loyalty, and independence. The lords who took part were bound by these ideals. They would not bend the knee to distant southern monarchs, nor submit to tyrants like Ramsay Bolton. For them, the North was not just a patch of land on a map. It was a way of life, a culture forged through centuries of hardship and resilience, demanding a leader who truly understood and respected its spirit. The Great Northern Conspiracy stands as a vivid reminder that in the cutthroat world of Westeros, brute force alone seldom secures lasting power. Instead, cunning, patience, and loyalty often prove the sharpest weapons. Through these qualities, the Northern Lords orchestrated a quiet rebellion, veiled by layers of deception and feigned allegiance, ultimately restoring a rightful Stark king to Winterfell. This king would lead not only with strength, but with the honor the North cherished. While the Northern Lords plotted their quiet rebellion far to the south in King's Landing, another family wove a web of intrigue just as intricate. Known as the Grand Tyrell Conspiracy, this plan was masterminded by the shrewd and calculating Olenna Tyrell. The theory proposes that Olenna engineered the downfall of one of Westeros' most formidable figures, Queen Cersei Lannister, by manipulating the rise of the High Sparrow and the Faith Militant, thus clearing the way for her granddaughter Margaery to seize control. For years, the Tyrells and Cerseis had been locked in a deadly game of power and influence. Where Cersei sought to maintain Lannister dominance at all costs, the Tyrells recognized an opening to elevate Margaery through marriage alliances, first aligning with the Baratheons and then the Lannisters themselves. This fierce rivalry between Cersei and Margaery became a central, simmering conflict within King's Landing's treacherous court, each woman constantly scheming to outwit and outmaneuver the other. Margaery's political ascent began with her marriage to Renly Baratheon, a move that, despite Renly's short-lived claim to the throne, positioned her as a potential queen. Following Renly's death, the Tyrells acted swiftly, cementing their power by marrying Margaery to King Joffrey Lannister. This union bolstered their influence at court, putting Margaery on the path to becoming Queen of the Seven Kingdoms. Yet it also deepened Cersei's animosity, as she saw Margaery not only as a rival, but a direct threat to her grip on power. The tension between these two formidable women only escalated after Joffrey's death, when Margaery married Tommen Baratheon, bringing her even closer to the throne. Meanwhile, Cersei's control over her son Tommen began to weaken under Margaery's growing charm and influence, a reality painfully clear to all, especially to Cersei herself. It became evident that Margaery was positioning herself to become a major player in the realm's power dynamics. Yet Olenna Tyrell, the matriarch and true strategist of the Tyrell family, knew that Cersei would never relinquish her power without a fight. Olenna's sharp political acumen recognized the need for a more subtle approach, one that would exploit Cersei's own arrogance and paranoia. This is where the High Sparrow entered the scene. Ostensibly a humble, devout leader of the Faith Militant, the High Sparrow's rise was carefully orchestrated by Olenna and the Tyrells. By fostering a resurgence of religious fervor in King's Landing, the Tyrells created a powerful tool to undermine Cersei's authority without open warfare. Cersei's fatal miscalculation was to align herself with the Faith Militant, believing she could use this religious faction to eliminate her rivals. However, she unwittingly played into Olenna's trap. By empowering the High Sparrow, Cersei handed her enemies the very means to dismantle her reign. The plan reached its climax when Margaery and her uncle Loras Tyrell were arrested by the Faith on charges of immorality and perversion. Initially, this seemed like a victory for Cersei. Her rivals were imprisoned, and she could momentarily breathe easier, believing the threat to her power had been neutralized. However, the influence wielded by House Tyrell over the High Sparrow ran far deeper than anyone in King's Landing initially suspected. Behind the scenes, Olenna Tyrell, the cunning matriarch of the Tyrell family, orchestrated a series of masterful political moves that ensured Margaery Tyrell's continued security and rising power within the royal court. This was not mere luck or happenstance. Olenna's intricate maneuvering was a delicate dance of subtlety and precision, designed to outwit her enemies without drawing overt attention. As tensions mounted in the capital, the tables began to turn sharply against Cersei Lannister. The very queen who had once engineered the imprisonment of Margaery and Loras found herself ensnared in the same unforgiving web of justice. Empowered by the fervor and influence that Cersei herself had helped to elevate, the High Sparrow redirected his crusade towards the Queen Mother. Her past sins, once hidden behind a veil of privilege and power, were suddenly thrust into the harsh light of scrutiny. The dramatic scene that unfolded, Cersei's harrowing walk of atonement through the crowded, jeering streets of King's Landing, would mark one of the most humiliating and defining moments of her life. It was not just a punishment, but the beginning of a slow and painful unraveling of her authority and influence. Olenna's brilliance was in how she turned Cersei's own hubris and short-sightedness into a weapon against her. Knowing full well Cersei's insatiable hunger for control and dominance, Oena cleverly baited her rival into making the first reckless move. By allowing Cersei to unleash the Faith Militant upon Margaery and Loras, Oena set in motion a chain of events that would ultimately backfire on the Lannister queen. Cersei's desire to crush her enemies blinded her to the consequences, enabling Oena to manipulate the situation with devastating effectiveness. The Tyrell matriarch had not only safeguarded her family's future, but had used Cersei herself as a pawn, turning the Queen Mother's own ambition into the instrument of her downfall. Meanwhile, Margaery Tyrell played her part with flawless grace and calculated humility. While Cersei was locked in a bitter public battle with the Faith Militant, Margaery presented herself as a model of piety and submission, aligning with the High Sparrow to secure her release from imprisonment. This display of contrition and faith was no accident. It was a strategic act designed to win favor with the rising power in King's Landing. Her carefully cultivated image earned her the High Sparrow's trust and allowed her to maintain her position as queen. With her young husband Tommen firmly under her influence, Margaery was poised to govern the realm through him, effectively sidelining Cersei and consolidating the Tyrells' hold on power. As Cersei's influence continued to erode, the Grand Tyrell conspiracy stood as a testament to Oena Tyrell's unmatched political acumen. By expertly exploiting the weaknesses of her enemies, their pride, impatience, and short-sightedness, Oena secured her family's place at the pinnacle of power while maintaining an aura of innocence and virtue. The long-standing rivalry between the Tyrells and the Lannisters was not settled through open war or brute force, but through calculated manipulation, patience, and strategic alliances. Yet this meteoric rise did not come without a steep price. Though Oena orchestrated Cersei's temporary fall from grace, the Queen Mother's eventual return to power was as swift as it was ruthless. In one of the most devastating and unforgettable moments of the saga, Cersei, driven by unrelenting vengeance, unleashed destruction upon the great Sept of Baelor. The fiery explosion obliterated the heart of the Faith Militant, killing Margaery, Loras, and the High Sparrow in a single, cataclysmic moment. This act of annihilation not only ended the Tyrells' influence in King's Landing, but shattered Oena's carefully laid plans and robbed her of her beloved grandchildren. Yet even in the face of such overwhelming loss, Oena remained defiant. In her final moments, she dealt one last unexpected blow to House Lannister by confessing to Jaime Lannister that she was the true orchestrator behind the poisoning of Joffrey at the infamous Purple Wedding. This revelation underscored the lengths Oena was willing to go to protect her family and secure their legacy, regardless of the cost or the enemies made along the way. The Grand Tyrell conspiracy serves as a vivid illustration of the brutal, dangerous game of politics in Westeros, a realm where even the most carefully constructed plans can unravel in the blink of an eye. Oena Tyrell's manipulation of Cersei, the Faith Militant, and the royal court remains one of the most remarkable displays of strategic cunning in the entire saga, proving once again that in the ruthless Game of Thrones, intelligence and patience often triumph over brute force and impulsiveness. As our story shifts beyond the wall into the stark, frozen wilderness of the North, we encounter one of the most enigmatic and debated figures in the lore of Westeros, Cold Hands. This mysterious character, who appears to assist Bran Stark during his perilous journey, has long been the subject of speculation and theory. One of the most compelling ideas suggests that Cold Hands is, in fact, the Night's King, the 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, who was said to have been turned into something otherworldly by the enigmatic Others, or White Walkers. Cold Hands first emerges from the shadows when Bran, along with Mira Reed, Jojen Reed, and Hodor, find themselves lost and vulnerable in the wilderness beyond the wall. Clad in dark, tattered robes and mounted atop a terrifying undead elk, Cold Hands exudes an eerie, unsettling presence. Ravens circle above him, adding to the supernatural aura that surrounds this figure who is neither fully alive nor completely dead. Despite his strange and unsettling nature, Cold Hands demonstrates an allegiance to the living, helping Bran and his companions navigate the dangers of the haunted North. Intriguingly, Cold Hands is unable to cross the wall's magical barriers, which were designed to repel creatures connected to the White Walkers and other malevolent forces. This limitation hints at his complicated nature, caught between the realms of life and death, yet not fully aligned with either side. This paradox fuels much of the mystery surrounding his true identity and intentions. The theory identifying Cold Hands as the Night's King draws from the chilling legend of an ancient and fearsome figure in Westerosi history. The Night's King was once a respected and honorable Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. According to myth, he fell under the spell of a woman described with skin as pale as the moon and eyes as blue as stars, a clear embodiment of the others. In a tragic twist, he gave her his soul, and together they ruled the night, leading the Night's Watch astray and committing terrible atrocities under their reign. Eventually, the Night's King was defeated and overthrown by a coalition that included the Starks of Winterfell and the King Beyond the Wall. However, the true fate of this once feared leader remains shrouded in mystery. The tantalizing idea that he might have survived in some altered form, returning as Cold Hands, adds a compelling layer to the rich tapestry of Westerosi myth and legend. If Cold Hands is indeed the Night's King, it would explain many of his strange characteristics. His undead-like state and his ambiguous connection to the White Walkers fit perfectly with the myth. Unlike the Walkers, Cold Hands does not require food or warmth to survive the harsh and unforgiving northern landscape. His skin is icy cold to the touch, and while his eyes lack the glowing blue intensity of the Walkers, they hold a haunting, intense gaze that speaks of a tortured soul caught between life and death. This haunting figure, straddling the line between darkness and light, embodies the complex and often ambiguous nature of the forces at play beyond the wall, a place where ancient magic, forgotten histories, and mortal destinies intertwine in ways that continue to captivate and mystify fans around the world. Additionally, Cold Hands possess a unique and almost mystical ability to communicate with animals, particularly ravens, reminiscent of the wargs and green seers of the north. This extraordinary gift suggests a profound connection to the ancient magical forces that linger in the wild lands beyond the wall, forces that many believe trace back to the deep, forgotten magic of the First Men. Within the lore, the legend of the Night's King echoes a chilling theme of corruption and transformation through contact with the others, a dark influence that has haunted the stories throughout the series. Just as the 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch was seduced and irreversibly changed by his encounter with his otherworldly lover, Cold Hand's present form seems to bear the marks of a similar sinister metamorphosis. Though he no longer appears fully human, fragments of his old self remain, compelling him to aid Bran Stark and his companions on their perilous journey. This striking duality reflects the tragedy of the Night's King himself, once a noble and respected leader, now but a shadow bound to the cold darkness. One of the most compelling clues fueling this theory is Cold Hand's inability to pass through the wall. Constructed with ancient spells specifically designed to bar the passage of White Walkers and other dark creatures, the wall's magical barrier rejects him, implying an intrinsic connection between Cold Hands and those very forces of death and cold. While he acts as a protector of the living, his very existence is intertwined with death's chill, suggesting that perhaps he is the Night's King, forever altered by his fateful encounter with the others. The theory deepens when considering Cold Hand's relationship with Bran Stark. The Night's King, as legend recounts, was a Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, intimately familiar with its sacred history and solemn mission. Cold Hand's extensive knowledge of the wilderness beyond the wall and his keen awareness of the dangers posed by the White Walkers imply that he once held a position of significant authority and responsibility. His guidance of Bran to the Three-Eyed Raven may be seen as a lingering commitment to protecting the realm, an echo of his former duty, even as he has been irrevocably touched by the darkness. Yet, there are voices of dissent that challenge the notion of Cold Hands as the Night's King. Unlike the Night's King, who became a puppet of destruction under the White Walkers' dominion, Cold Hands seems to retain a degree of free will, a desire to help the living rather than obliterate them. The current Night King and his undead army pursue annihilation with relentless purpose, while Cold Hands exhibits a more complex and nuanced behavior. Though connected to death and the cold, his actions lean toward protection rather than destruction, Still, the parallels are difficult to overlook. Both figures are cloaked in mystery, bound to the lands beyond the wall, and tied to the ancient, enigmatic magic of the first men. Both stand at the precarious boundary between life and death, and both have connections to the White Walkers that remain shrouded in secrecy. If Cold Hands is indeed the Night's King, it adds layers of tragic complexity to his character, transforming him into a figure who, despite his fall from grace, continues to wage a quiet battle against the darkness that once consumed him. In the end, Cold Hands remains one of the most enigmatic characters in the saga of Game of Thrones. The theory that he is the Night's King offers a tantalizing explanation for his mysterious origins and actions. Whether true or not, this theory highlights the profound and often blurred lines between the living and the dead in Westeros, as well as the heartbreaking reality that even the most powerful leaders can be brought low by forces beyond their control. Bound to the cold, yes, but within Cold Hands lies a flicker of lingering humanity, a desire to do what is right, even if his true nature is forever altered. Now, shifting from the icy shadows of the Night's King, there exists a theory that kindles a different kind of warmth, a hope for redemption amidst the darkness: the grave-digging Hound. Once a fiercely brutal warrior, Sandor Clegane's story was widely believed to end in death. Yet many fans of the series suspect that the Hound survived, choosing instead a new, humble path as a novice gravedigger, quietly renouncing his violent past. Throughout his tumultuous journey, Sandor was haunted by rage, the terror of fire, and the scars of his painful history. His arc, steeped in violence and bitterness, appeared to conclude after a brutal confrontation with Brienne of Tarth left him for dead. Still, some sensed his tale was unfinished. This theory gained traction largely due to subtle hints woven into the narrative, particularly in the books. In A Feast for Crows, Brienne encounters a secluded group of monks led by a figure known as the Elder Brother. When Brienne inquires about the Hound, the Elder Brother solemnly declares Sandor dead. Yet the phrasing and the presence of a large, hooded novice, described as limping but possessing remarkable strength, sparked speculation that this might be the Hound living a quiet, transformed life. Within this serene monastery, the theory suggests Sandor has found peace and redemption. Throughout his journey, brief glimpses of compassion surfaced in Sandor's character, especially towards Sansa and Arya Stark, hinting at a buried desire for a life unshackled from violence. To live as a humble novice digging graves offered a symbolic and literal chance for redemption, a way to confront the past and seek atonement through simple acts of service. This possibility turns Sandor's story from one of brutality and despair into a hopeful tale of transformation and healing, a testament to the enduring power of change, even for the darkest souls. However, the TV adaptation takes the story down a dramatically different path, shifting the fate of one of Westeros' most complex characters. In this version, the Hound, who seemed destined to perish from his grievous wounds, instead pulls through, emerging from the brink of death to live a life far removed from the chaos that once defined him. He finds refuge among a group of peaceful villagers, hidden away from the endless cycle of violence that has scarred him both physically and emotionally. This period of solitude isn't just a pause in his journey. It becomes a transformative chapter, a moment of quiet reflection and healing. But the world of Westeros is never still, and neither is the Hound's fate. Eventually, he is drawn back into the storm of political turmoil and bloody conflict that continues to engulf the realm. His return is marked by a powerful and long-awaited event, the infamous Clegane Bowl, a brutal, no-holds-barred clash between the two Clegane brothers. This showdown is far more than just a fight for survival or a vendetta settled with swords. It serves as a deeply symbolic reckoning, a confrontation with the dark, violent shadows of the Hound's past that have haunted him for years. Through the brutal battle, the Hound faces not only his brother, but the very essence of who he once was, his rage, his pain, and the blood-soaked history he has tried desperately to leave behind. While the TV series sidesteps the possibility of a peaceful, secluded life for the Hound, it preserves the core theme of his quest for redemption. His journey becomes a study in internal conflict, the fierce tug-of-war between the violent man he used to be and the hope for a quieter existence. The final confrontation with Gregor Clegane transcends mere vengeance. It is a profound personal trial. It mirrors the Hound's urgent need to confront his own identity, to wrestle with the legacy of violence that has defined him, and ultimately to seek a form of peace that seemed, for so long, out of reach. In contrast, the books leave the Hound's fate shrouded in ambiguity, open to multiple interpretations and theories. The elder brother's claim that the Hound is dead may not be a straightforward statement of fact, but rather a metaphorical death. The death of the man Sandor Clegane once was. This interpretation suggests that by adopting a new identity, possibly as the novice gravedigger, the Hound is actively burying the violent past that once consumed him. If this theory holds true, then the gravedigger is not just someone who tends to the dead. He is a man who is metaphorically burying the version of himself that was lost to brutality and vengeance. This gravedigger theory, whether taken literally or symbolically, beautifully encapsulates themes of transformation and redemption that resonate deeply within the brutal world of Westeros. It speaks to a profound hope that even in a realm dominated by bloodshed and betrayal, a soul can seek peace, can change, and can find a way to atone for the darkness that has shaped its path. Both the books and the show use the Hound's journey as a powerful narrative about change, forgiveness, and the search for a new way forward. Ultimately, although the television adaptation diverges from the gravedigger theory, the character's search for redemption remains the beating heart of his story. Whether he lives quietly among villagers or fights his brother to the death in a fiery duel, Sandor Clegane's legacy is one of profound transformation. It stands as a reminder that even the most hardened, scarred souls in a world full of chaos can seek peace, and perhaps in some way find it. From the enigmatic figure of the gravedigger, we turn now to another of Westeros' most enduring and mysterious legends, the tale of the Knight of the Laughing Tree. This story harks back to the legendary tournament at Harrenhal, an event steeped in mystery and significance, which played a crucial role in setting off the chain reaction of events leading to Robert's rebellion. The identity of this masked knight, shrouded in mismatched armor and bearing a shield emblazoned with a laughing weirwood tree, has been a subject of fervent debate among fans and scholars alike. Many hold the belief that this mysterious knight was none other than Lyanna Stark herself. The tournament at Harrenhal was no ordinary gathering. It was the largest assembly of knights and nobility Westeros had seen in many years. What was intended as a grand celebration and a display of power and chivalry instead became a catalyst for some of the most earth-shaking events in the history of the realm. During this grand tournament, the Knight of the Laughing Tree appeared, stepping onto the jousting field with an air of defiance and mystery. Wearing armor pieced together from different sources and carrying a shield adorned with a symbol sacred to the north, the laughing weirwood tree, the knight took on a trio of challengers, each of whom had previously tormented a young crannogman, believed by many to be Howland Reed, a trusted ally of House Stark. What made this moment so captivating was not only the skill and bravery displayed by the knight, but the refusal to reveal their identity. The knight vanished without unmasking, leaving behind an aura of intrigue and unanswered questions. The significance of this event is heightened when viewed in the larger political context. This was a tournament where many of the most powerful houses of Westeros gathered, and Rhaegar Targaryen himself was said to watch with keen interest. It is believed that the knight's mysterious presence and actions influenced Rhaegar's decisions at the tournament, most notably his unexpected crowning of Lyanna Stark as the Queen of Love and Beauty, a gesture that rippled far beyond the tournament grounds. The theory that Lyanna Stark was the Knight of the Laughing Tree draws strength from several compelling pieces of evidence. First is Lyanna's well-known fiery spirit and rebellious streak. As the only daughter of Rickard Stark, she was fiercely independent and headstrong, qualities that fit perfectly with the boldness required to don armor and defend a friend's honor on a field dominated by noble lords. Her close relationship with Howland Reed further bolsters this theory. It makes sense that she would step into the fray to protect someone unable to defend himself. Moreover, the symbolism of the laughing weirwood tree is deeply significant. In the north, weirwood trees are sacred, revered as embodiments of the old gods and ancient traditions dating back to the first men. For a Stark, especially one as connected to the north as Lyanna, choosing this symbol would be a powerful statement, an assertion of identity, heritage, and values in a setting dominated by the politics and customs of the southern houses. It was, in essence, a subtle act of rebellion and pride. Yet, the implications of this theory stretch far beyond a single act of defiance. Many believe that this mysterious night left a lasting impression on Rhaegar Targaryen himself. The skill, courage, and spirit displayed by the Knight of the Laughing Tree are thought to have captivated Rhaegar, drawing him to take a deeper interest in the woman behind the armor. Upon discovering her identity as Lyanna Stark, his feelings grew into something profound, setting the stage for their secret romance and eventual elopement. This union, shrouded in secrecy and fraught with political tension, became the spark that ignited Robert's rebellion, the overthrow of the Targaryen dynasty, and the sprawling conflict that underpins much of the Game of Thrones saga. Rhaegar's decision to crown Lyanna the Queen of Love and Beauty, despite being wed to Elia Martell, was not merely a romantic gesture. It was a bold act of defiance against his own family, and a clear signal of the burgeoning bond between them. If Lyanna truly was the Knight of the Laughing Tree, this revelation adds layers of complexity to their relationship. It paints a picture of a connection founded not only on attraction, but also on mutual respect for strength, courage, and honor, qualities that mirrored Rhaegar's own values. Finally, this theory holds crucial significance for the mystery of Jon Snow's parentage. If Lyanna Stark was indeed the Knight of the Laughing Tree, her role as a pivotal figure in the events leading to Jon's birth becomes even more pronounced. The tournament was not just a gathering of nobles, but a turning point, an event that catalyzed the secret romance between Lyanna and Rhaegar. From this union was born a child, hidden away for safety and raised under the guise of another's name. Jon Snow's story, one of hidden lineage and destiny, finds deeper roots in the shadow of the Laughing Tree and the secret acts of bravery and love that shaped the fate of Westeros. In the sprawling and complex world of Westeros, the story of hidden identities weaves itself through the fabric of history, whispering secrets that shape the destinies of kingdoms. This theory, exploring the mysterious figure known as the Knight of the Laughing Tree, taps into that very essence, how concealed truths and silent acts of defiance can shift the course of entire realms. Much like Jon Snow, whose true lineage was a closely guarded secret for years, the identity of this enigmatic knight remained shrouded in mystery, known only through hushed legends passed down in the shadowed corners of taverns and great halls alike. The parallel between Jon's upbringing, unaware of the royal blood running through his veins, and the hidden knight's covert bravery underscores a powerful truth. Beneath the surface lies a force often stronger than swords or crowns, the force of secrets and hidden courage. The figure of Lyanna Stark, fleeting yet pivotal, becomes central in this theory. Throughout her brief but unforgettable presence in the narrative, Lyanna emerges as a symbol of independence and personal freedom, a woman unwilling to be confined by the rigid expectations of her time. Her choice to flee with Prince Rhaegar, an act that ignited a devastating war, was emblematic of a spirit that refused to be chained by others' wills. If she were indeed the Knight of the Laughing Tree, it would cast that early, mysterious act of rebellion in a new light, a declaration that she would take control of her own fate, wielding sword and shield not just in battle, but in the assertion of her own autonomy. The tourney of Harrenhal itself stands as a crucible of political tension, simmering beneath the grand pageantry of knights jousting and lords forging alliances over wine. Rhaegar's actions during the tournament, most notably crowning Lyanna the Queen of Love and Beauty, were far more than ceremonial. They marked the opening of a new, turbulent chapter in Westeros' history, a chapter destined to be written in blood and rebellion, culminating in the downfall of the Targaryen dynasty. The tournament was not merely a spectacle, it was the calm before the storm, a symbolic moment where hidden ambitions and forbidden desires collided. In both George R.R. Martin's novels and the television adaptation, the identity of the Knight of the Laughing Tree remains one of Westeros' unsolved mysteries. Yet, If the theory holds true, and Lyanna Stark was beneath the armor, it enriches her character with layers of depth, revealing a woman who defied the roles imposed upon her. It highlights a broader theme woven throughout the story. Women in Westeros, often boxed into restrictive social roles, wielding whatever means they have, be it sword, wit, or secrecy, to challenge and reshape the world around them. The Knight of the Laughing Tree symbolizes more than just a masked warrior. She embodies the courage to fight unseen battles that echo through generations. At its core, the theory about this mysterious knight transcends the question of identity. It speaks to the power of a single act of defiance to alter history's trajectory, setting off ripples that reach far beyond the moment itself. Whether or not Lyanna truly donned the armor, the tale of the tourney of Harrenhal remains a cornerstone in the epic saga, a key piece of the puzzle that eventually leads to the collapse of the Targaryen reign and the emergence of the series' most iconic characters. From the armored knight to the hidden bloodlines, the saga moves to another fascinating theory, one that challenges our understanding of one of the series' most beloved and complex figures, Tyrion Lannister. This provocative idea suggests that Tyrion is not the son of Tywin Lannister as everyone believes, but rather the secret offspring of King Aerys II, famously known as the Mad King, and Joanna Lannister. If true, this revelation would not only reshape the political landscape of Westeros, but also shed light on the enigmatic facets of Tyrion's character. Tyrion's life, marked by tragedy and struggle, has always been a study in contrasts. Born during the death of his mother Joanna, his arrival was met with disdain rather than joy. His father Tywin's coldness went beyond mere resentment over Tyrion's dwarfism. It carried a bitterness that seemed rooted in something deeper, something unspoken. Could it be that Tywin's harsh treatment was fueled by the suspicion that Tyrion was not his biological son? This theory posits that Joanna's past at the royal court, where she served as a lady-in-waiting to Queen Rhaella, placed her within the obsessive gaze of King Aerys. Rumors of inappropriate advances and possibly a forced encounter swirl in the background of this dark chapter, suggesting that Tyrion might indeed carry the blood of the Targaryens. Supporting this claim are the subtle but persistent signs woven throughout Tyrion's journey. His fascination with dragons, creatures fiercely loyal to those of Valyrian heritage, stands out as more than mere curiosity. From his early studies of dragon lore to his daring visit to the dragon skulls hidden beneath the Red Keep, Tyrion exhibits an unusual affinity for these mythical beasts. And his later interactions with Daenerys Targaryen's dragons, especially his ability to approach and free them without harm, further hint at a hidden connection. Dragons in Westeros do not bond easily, but when they do, it is a sign of shared blood and destiny. If Tyrion is truly of Targaryen descent, his natural rapport with dragons becomes an illuminating piece of the puzzle. This theory, with its intricate blend of whispered court secrets, personal tragedy, and powerful symbolism, invites us to rethink the tangled relationships among Westeros' ruling families. It challenges us to look beyond appearances and question the true nature of identity, loyalty, and power in a land where the past is never truly past, and every secret has the potential to reshape the future. Moreover, this captivating theory suggests that Tyrion Lannister may, in fact, be a living embodiment of the legendary three heads of the dragon prophecy, a prophecy long held to foretell the coming of three Targaryens, destined to shape the very future of Westeros. Within the tapestry of this narrative, Daenerys Targaryen and Jon Snow have already been confirmed as bearers of Targaryen blood, leaving Tyrion as the mysterious missing piece to complete this formidable trio. This idea gains further weight when reflecting on Tywin Lannister's infamous parting words to Tyrion before his death: "You are no son of mine." While many interpret this as a bitter expression of Tywin's disdain for his youngest child, some fans argue that it could be a literal admission, an indication that Tywin, a man renowned for his pride and unyielding control over his family's legacy, may have harbored a secret suspicion or even certain knowledge that Tyrion was not his biological son. This suspicion could explain the undercurrent of lifelong resentment Tywin carried toward Tyrion, a resentment that went far beyond the boy's physical deformities or failures in Tywin's eyes. Instead, it might stem from the bitter truth that Tywin was forced to raise the child of a man who not only dishonored his wife, but also posed a direct threat to the Lannister name and legacy. If this revelation about Tyrion's true parentage were ever confirmed, it would dramatically reshape the intricate power dynamics within the realm of Westeros. Tyrion's claim to the Iron Throne would be dramatically bolstered. No longer merely a Lannister by birth, but a rightful Targaryen heir, his legitimacy would rival even that of Daenerys. This shift would add layers of complexity to his already significant role within the Seven Kingdoms, transforming him from a cunning political player into a central figure in the ongoing struggle for power. Tyrion's sharp intellect, strategic prowess, and political savvy, traits that have consistently distinguished him from his siblings Jaime and Cersei, could be seen as inherited gifts from the fiery Targaryen bloodline, rather than the calculated cunning of House Lannister alone. Unlike Jaime and Cersei, who often rely on their noble status or martial skill, Tyrion navigates the treacherous corridors of Westerosi politics through wit and sharp insight, making him uniquely equipped to survive and thrive in a world ruled by deception and ambition. His persistent feeling of alienation within the Lannister family, long viewed as an outsider and a disappointment, might finally be explained by this hidden heritage. He never quite fit the mold of a Lannister lord, because he was never truly one. The implications for his relationship with Daenerys are profound. Having already formed a close alliance after fleeing Westeros and becoming one of her most trusted advisors, Tyrion's revealed bloodline would deepen their familial connection, solidifying their partnership not just as political allies, but as kin united by a shared destiny. Yet this newfound kinship could also stir tension, as both would hold competing claims to the Iron Throne, each determined to assert their rightful place as ruler. Such a conflict could add an intense and personal dimension to the broader battle for power, bringing the prophecy of the three heads of the dragon into sharp, dramatic focus. Furthermore, the theory casts new light on the tragic figure of Tywin Lannister. Despite his immense power, wealth, and iron-fisted control, Tywin's life may have been quietly shaped by a private torment, the burden of raising a son who was not truly his own. His relentless attempts to mold Tyrion into a figure worthy of the Lannister name, often forcing him into roles and expectations he could never meet, might be seen as Tywin's desperate struggle to impose order on a chaotic reality that threatened everything he valued. His bitterness was never merely about Tyrion's stature or perceived failures, but the deeper sting of betrayal, the inescapable reminder that he was raising the child of his greatest rival. In a world where bloodlines dictate the fates of kingdoms and the course of history, the revelation of Tyrion's true parentage would be nothing short of revolutionary. It would upend long-held assumptions about the nature of power and inheritance in Westeros, exposing a far more tangled web of loyalties and betrayals between the Lannisters and the Targaryens than anyone had ever imagined. Beyond the political ramifications, this theory touches on one of the central themes woven throughout the Game of Thrones saga, the fluid and often elusive nature of identity. It suggests that the characters we think we know, shaped by their histories and their families, may harbor hidden truths capable of reshaping the entire realm's destiny. Ultimately, whether or not Tyrion is truly the secret son of Aerys Targaryen, this theory offers a rich and compelling new lens through which to view one of the series' most beloved and complex characters. It challenges our perceptions of family, legacy, and power, reminding us that even in a world as ruthless and unforgiving as Westeros, the reality beneath the surface is often far more intricate, nuanced, and surprising than it first appears. From the intricate and treacherous political battles of Westeros to the shadowed corridors of power that stretch far beyond the known world, there exists one of the most secretive and mystifying factions in the saga of Game of Thrones, the Faceless Men. Emerging from the free city of Braavos, this enigmatic brotherhood of assassins operates beneath a veil of secrecy that few have pierced. Yet, buried beneath their reputation as mere hired killers is a deeper, far more profound purpose. One that some believe extends across the continents and weaves itself into the very fabric of fate itself. At the heart of this belief lies a gripping and complex conspiracy theory, often referred to as the Grand Faceless Men Conspiracy. According to this theory, the Faceless Men are not just cold-blooded murderers carrying out contracts for coin. Instead, they are orchestrators of a grand design, a silent force seeking to shape the world's destiny through death itself, wielding it as a necessary instrument of peace and cosmic balance. Central to understanding this theory is the unique and chilling philosophy embraced by the Faceless Men. Their faith revolves around the many-faced god, also known as the god of death. Unlike most who fear death as a terrifying unknown, the Faceless Men revere it as the ultimate liberation. Death, in their eyes, is the final equalizer, stripping away all distinctions of power, wealth, and status. To them, life is a realm of unending suffering, inequality, and struggle. But death offers solace, an escape from the pain, a doorway to true equality, where all meet the same fate, no matter their background. This worldview transforms the Faceless Men's assassinations from mere acts of violence into something far more profound, acts of mercy. By delivering death, they free souls from the burdens and injustices of mortal existence. They are not simply killers, they are emissaries of a divine balance, agents working to restore harmony by guiding the living into the embrace of death. But the implications of this philosophy go beyond isolated killings. The Grand Faceless Men conspiracy suggests their true mission is to manipulate the currents of history, using death as a tool to resolve conflicts and bring about a new order. In this grand vision, they are not pawns, but players of a vast cosmic chess game, moving unseen pieces to create balance in a fractured world. Adding to the intrigue is the whispered idea that the Faceless Men might be linked to even darker forces, the Others, also known as the White Walkers. Both factions share a deep obsession with death, though their methods differ starkly. The Faceless Men see death as a mercy, while the White Walkers wield death as a weapon, raising the dead to forge an unstoppable army. The theory speculates that these two groups may be aligned, united by a chilling goal, to bring about a cataclysmic reset of life itself, using death as the ultimate path to peace. Throughout the Game of Thrones saga, the subtle fingerprints of the Faceless Men can be traced in some of the most pivotal moments. Their influence often lurks in the shadows, unnoticed yet potent. For example, Arya Stark's journey to Braavos and her intense training at the House of Black and White unveiled the inner workings of this secretive guild. Arya, once a young noble girl, becomes a vessel of the Faceless Men's philosophy, learning to shed her identity and embrace death as a form of power. But Arya's story is just one fragment of the broader puzzle. The Faceless Men's hand is suspected in other mysterious deaths, like that of Balon Greyjoy, who fell from a bridge under suspicious circumstances. His demise cleared the path for Euron Greyjoy's rise, shifting the balance of power among the Ironborn and, by extension, the entire realm. Was Balon's fall a random accident or a calculated strike designed to reshape political landscapes according to a hidden agenda? The origins of the Faceless Men add another layer of complexity to this narrative. Braavos, their city of birth, was founded by escaped slaves seeking refuge from oppression. This origin story suggests that the Faceless Men's mission could be rooted in dismantling entrenched systems of power and inequality, systems epitomized by the rigid feudal hierarchy of Westeros. Through covert assassinations and strategic interference, they may be working to undermine these structures, subtly guiding the world toward a more equitable future. The Faceless Men's methods are as elusive as their motives. Masters of disguise and deception, they dissolve their pasts and assume countless identities, blending seamlessly into crowds. This ability to move unnoticed in plain sight grants them immense power. In a world where rulers often display their might through armies and grandiose gestures, the quiet patience and calculated subtlety of the Faceless Men represent a radically different form of influence, one built on shadows and silence. The most provocative element of the Grand Faceless Men theory remains the suggestion of a secret alliance with the Others. Both embody a fatalistic embrace of death, but while the Faceless Men offer it as a mercy, the White Walkers wield it as destruction and rebirth. If these two forces are indeed collaborating, it could signify a terrifying convergence, a shared vision of the world's end as a cleansing rebirth. Why would the Faceless Men align themselves with such a destructive force? The theory proposes that the world's corruption and chaos have reached a tipping point, where only an apocalyptic purge can restore balance. The White Walkers, as harbingers of this cataclysm, are instruments of that reset. The Faceless Men, devoted servants of the many-faced God, may see this upheaval as the ultimate fulfillment of their creed, the final equalizing death that wipes the slate clean. Their calculated killings throughout Westeros might thus be seen as steps in this ominous choreography, destabilizing realms and sowing discord to make the world ripe for the coming winter's devastating storm. Arya's transformation becomes all the more significant in this light. Her journey was not only about mastering assassination, but about understanding death's deeper power and role in shaping destiny. When Arya returns to Westeros, she carries with her the knowledge and lethal skill of the Faceless Men, deploying them not merely for personal revenge, but as part of a grander, unseen design. Each target she eliminates is a thread in the vast, hidden tapestry the Faceless Men are weaving, one where death is not just an end, but a beginning, a necessary force pushing the world toward an uncertain yet inevitable peace. However, Arya Stark's deeply personal journey for justice might be more closely intertwined with the grander designs of the Faceless Men than she herself fully understands. Her relentless pursuit of vengeance, targeting figures like Walder Frey and key members of House Frey, not only serves as a brutal response to the horrors of the Red Wedding, but also ripples outward, fundamentally altering the political dynamics of the Riverlands. These assassinations don't merely erase individual enemies, they dismantle established power structures, accelerating the unraveling of order in the region and contributing to the broader destabilization gripping Westeros. Viewed from a wider perspective, the idea that the Faceless Men are quietly shaping events across the realm grants them an unexpectedly pivotal role in the unfolding saga. Their stark, almost philosophical acceptance of death contrasts sharply with the ambitions, desires, and greed driving the noble houses. While the Lannisters, Starks, and Targaryens fiercely compete for control of the Iron Throne, the Faceless Men seem to operate on an entirely different plane, where death is not an end but the ultimate equalizer. This underlying force could be guiding the tides of conflict and chaos toward a final resolution where death and peace coexist in uneasy balance. If this theory holds weight, it profoundly reshapes how we interpret many of the series' key moments. The Faceless Men emerge not merely as a secretive assassin guild, but as a hidden hand steering the destiny of Westeros. Their influence weaves through the realm's politics, intertwining with the existential threats looming on the horizon, most notably the impending war against the White Walkers. This connection suggests that their role extends beyond mere mortal squabbles. They are enmeshed deeply in the fate of the world itself. Ultimately, the grand conspiracy surrounding the Faceless Men presents a chilling possibility. While the great houses bicker and battle over power, the true game unfolds in the shadows, wielded by those who command death as their supreme weapon. This clandestine order could be orchestrating the fall and rise of kingdoms, not for personal gain, but to usher in a new world order defined by the inevitability of death and the quiet that follows. After exploring the brutal and raw quest for redemption, our attention turns now to a theory lurking even deeper in the shadows, one centered on Missandei, Daenerys Targaryen's seemingly loyal and unassuming companion. This compelling idea suggests that Missandei is far more than a freed slave and trusted translator. Instead, she may secretly be a faceless man, a member of the enigmatic Order of Assassins, renowned for their unparalleled skill in shifting identities and operating unnoticed. If true, it would mean her presence and role in Daenerys' ascent were no mere coincidence, but a carefully calculated part of a larger design. On the surface, Missandei appears as an innocent, kind-hearted figure who survived the horrors of slavery with remarkable grace. Yet, subtle clues about her extensive knowledge, unusual skills, and mysterious past have fueled speculation that she harbors secrets far beyond what she reveals. One of the most compelling facets of this theory is her advanced linguistic ability. She speaks multiple languages fluently, including High Valyrian, an ancient tongue typically mastered only by elites or those with exceptional education. This mastery raises a crucial question. Where did she acquire such rare knowledge? As Daenerys' trusted advisor and translator, Missandei transcends a simple support role, becoming a subtle influencer. Her guidance shapes the Queen's decisions, her counsel affecting how Daenerys interacts with allies and foes alike. If Missandei truly is a faceless man, then these skills of observation, manipulation, and influence would be essential tools for advancing a hidden agenda. Furthermore, Missandei's seamless integration into Daenerys' inner circle, gaining trust with remarkable ease, hints at more than coincidence. She is not a mere passive observer, but an active participant in critical moments, offering counsel during the liberation of Slaver's Bay, navigating the complexities of ruling Meereen, and influencing political strategy. Such insight suggests a deeper understanding of power dynamics, strategy, and political intrigue than might be expected from someone with her purported background. The Faceless Men are famous for ability to adopt new identities and blend effortlessly into any society without arousing suspicion. Missandei's early life remains shrouded in mystery. Details about her origins and childhood before enslavement are sparse and vague. Her story of being captured as a child from the island of Narth, while plausible, is not backed by extensive detail, leading many to wonder if this account is fabricated, perhaps a carefully constructed cover story designed to conceal her true purpose. Adding to this theory is her composed and calm demeanor, maintained even in the face of grave danger. This emotional control aligns closely with what would be expected from someone rigorously trained in the arts of deception, discipline, and psychological manipulation, hallmarks of the Faceless Men's teachings. Unlike many who are overwhelmed by chaos and uncertainty, Missandei thrives, offering measured, insightful advice precisely when others falter. If Missandei is indeed a faceless man, her loyalty to Daenerys may be more complex than simple allegiance. Her true mission could be to subtly steer events, molding the rise of the Dragon Queen in ways that serve the Faceless Men's overarching philosophy. They worship the many-faced god, a deity representing death and balance, and their goal is to bring equilibrium to the world through orchestrated deaths. Thus, Missandei's presence might not only influence Daenerys' claim to the Iron Throne, but also shape the broader fate of Westeros, ensuring that the balance the Faceless Men seek ultimately prevails. In essence, this theory opens a fascinating new lens through which to view Missandei's character, not as a mere translator or freed slave, but as a powerful agent of fate, silently guiding one of the most significant power shifts in the known world. Her story invites us to consider how much of the world's destiny is controlled not by open battles or declarations, but by quiet shadows moving unseen behind the scenes. If the Faceless Men truly hold to the belief that certain key individuals must ascend or descend to restore a delicate balance within the world, it stands to reason that they would strategically position one of their own close to someone as monumental as Daenerys Targaryen. Their centuries-old creed, steeped in anonymity and precision, would compel them to influence events from the shadows, manipulating the tides of fate without ever revealing their hand. By quietly guiding Daenerys' decisions, nudging her toward certain choices while steering her away from others, they could alter the destinies of entire continents, shaping the fate of both Westeros and Essos with subtlety and calculated grace. Consider Missandei, whose constant presence at Daenerys' side during pivotal moments, from the liberation of slaves across the cities of Slaver's Bay, through the fierce conquest of powerful strongholds to the tense march westward across the narrow sea, raises intriguing questions about her true origins and loyalties. Was she merely a devoted advisor and trusted confidante, or something far more enigmatic? Her unwavering composure amid chaos, her ability to blend seamlessly into environments fraught with danger, and the profound silence about her past suggest she could well be a disciple of the House of Black and White, the secretive order of the Faceless Men. The Faceless Men's reach across Essos is legendary yet shrouded in secrecy. Known to infiltrate courts and powerful households, their agents operate under the guise of loyalty while serving a greater purpose dictated by their mystical and often ruthless ethos. Missandei's skills, her mastery of multiple languages, her discreet yet commanding presence, and her almost uncanny intuition fit perfectly with what one might expect from someone trained in the arts of stealth, deception, and subtle influence. The absence of any real backstory in both the show and the books only deepens the mystery. Could her survival in Daenerys' volatile inner circle be less about chance and more about calculated preservation? Unlike many others who rise and fall in the Queen's court, Missandei's position remains remarkably secure, almost as though she is always several moves ahead of any threat. Yet, despite these suggestive clues, the theory that Missandei is a faceless man remains debated among fans and scholars alike. Her apparent loyalty seems genuine, reflected in moments of compassion and vulnerability, particularly in her relationship with Grey Worm, which is portrayed as deeply emotional and personal. This tenderness seems at odds with the cold detachment one might expect from an agent of the Faceless Men, whose very existence demands they shed individual identity and emotion. Moreover, the nature of a faceless man's ultimate mission is typically clear and singular, yet Missandei's true purpose, if any, is never fully unveiled in the narrative. This ambiguity keeps the question open and the speculation alive. Ultimately, the idea that Missandei might be a faceless man enriches the tapestry of her character, adding a profound layer of complexity to her role within the saga. Whether or not this is true, the theory embodies one of the central themes of Game of Thrones. Appearances can be deceiving, and those who seem most loyal may conceal hidden motives. Her calm demeanor, deep understanding, and shadowy past present a tantalizing possibility that beneath the surface lies a master of disguise and influence. Even if the truth remains forever obscured, the theory invites us to look closer and question what lies behind the masks worn by those in power. From the shadowed corridors of clandestine manipulation, we turn to a belief steeped in mysticism and ancient reverence, the notion that the old gods have long favored the Stark family. This ancient faith, rooted deeply in the sacred forests of the North, suggests that the Starks have been under the protection and guidance of these primordial deities for generations. The bond between the family and the old gods is symbolized most vividly by their connection to the direwolves, majestic, almost supernatural creatures that serve as both companions and protectors, embodying the spirit of House Stark. The worship of the old gods centers around the ancient weirwood trees, tall, ghostly sentinels with faces carved into their bark and blood-red sap that seems to pulse with life. These groves are sacred spaces where Stark ancestors have knelt in prayer, forging a spiritual link that transcends time. The belief holds that the old gods watch over the land and those who honor them, offering protection and guidance through both fortune and fate. One of the earliest and most striking signs of this divine favor is the discovery of 6 direwolf pups, each found by a Stark child at the very outset of the saga. The seemingly miraculous matching of one pup to each child feels less like coincidence and more like a deliberate blessing from the old gods. These direwolves are not merely pets, they possess a remarkable intelligence and unwavering loyalty, often appearing precisely when the Stark children face danger or despair. Ghost, the white direwolf, loyal to Jon Snow, is a prime example. His presence is a constant source of protection and solace during some of the most perilous moments. Bran Stark's survival after his catastrophic fall from the tower adds another layer to this narrative of divine intervention. Left paralyzed but alive, Bran's fate seems intertwined with the old gods from that point onward. His mystical abilities, visions granted by the enigmatic three-eyed raven, and the power to warg into his direwolf summer indicate a profound connection to the ancient northern powers. Bran's journey into the heart of the weirwood forests, where he deepens his understanding and mastery of these gifts, cements his role as a chosen instrument of the old god's will. Beyond the supernatural, the Starks' repeated survival against overwhelming odds, from political betrayals to brutal warfare, has fueled speculation that they are favored by a protective force beyond mere chance. Ned Stark's honorable legacy, though tragically cut short, lives on through his resilient children. Robb Stark's heroic yet doomed rebellion did not extinguish the Stark name, rather it galvanized the surviving siblings. Arya's arduous path through hardship and transformation leads her back home, while Sansa, once a pawn in deadly court intrigues, emerges as a shrewd and capable leader. This pattern of endurance in the face of relentless adversity suggests the old gods have a vested interest in preserving the Stark lineage. Unlike many noble houses that have been wiped out or corrupted by the tides of war and treachery, the Starks endure, rooted in the harsh, unforgiving North and bound to a faith that promises protection through ancient power. This enduring legacy raises compelling questions about the true nature of fate, loyalty, and divine will within the world of Game of Thrones, painting the Starks not merely as survivors, but as chosen vessels of an ancient mystical force that shapes their destiny. One of the most profound and enduring connections binding the Stark family to the ancient and mysterious old gods lies in their ancestral stronghold, Winterfell. This fortress, standing resolute in the heart of the North, was not merely a seat of power, but was deliberately built around a sacred weirwood tree, an emblematic symbol that radiates spiritual significance far beyond the mundane. For centuries, Winterfell has been more than just a political center. It has served as a spiritual beacon, an emblem of deep-rooted faith and unwavering loyalty to the old gods who have watched over the North long before the Seven Kingdoms came to be. The ancient Godswood nestled within Winterfell's walls remains a living testament to this enduring relationship, a hallowed ground where the whispers of ancestors and the rustling of the red leaves keep the presence of the old gods alive and palpable. This connection distinguishes the Starks in a world increasingly dominated by the faith of the Seven, which has spread through much of Westeros like wildfire. While most regions have embraced the newer religion, the North, fiercely independent and steeped in its own ancient customs, has held fast to the old gods. This steadfastness is not mere tradition, but a profound preservation of identity, history, and spiritual heritage that links the Starks to generations past. Their devotion is a thread woven through their lineage, imbuing their actions and decisions with a sense of destiny and divine purpose. Throughout the Stark saga, the notion that the old gods guide and shape their fate emerges time and again, almost as if the very forces of the universe are conspiring in their favor. Numerous moments in their history seem touched by fate, events that transcend mere chance and suggest a grand design. Take, for example, Jon Snow. Jon Snow, born an illegitimate child, he rises from the shadows of doubt to become the king in the North. His journey, marked by sacrifice and leadership, culminates in a pivotal role against the existential threat of the White Walkers. Jon's path seems less a product of his own making and more a manifestation of something far greater, an invisible hand steering him in alignment with the old gods' will. His leadership in the North, a land where the old gods are still deeply revered, reinforces the idea that he serves a purpose written in the stars and the sacred branches of the weirwood. In much the same vein, Bran Stark's extraordinary transformation into the three-eyed raven feels like the unfolding of a destiny etched long before his birth. Bran's mystical abilities, his capacity to peer into the past, present, and future, connect him directly to the old god's power that courses through the ancient weirwoods. This connection elevates him beyond the realm of mere mortals, casting him as a living bridge between the human world and the enigmatic forces that shape it. Through Bran, the story touches the realm of myth and legend, where the spiritual and temporal collide in a dance of prophecy and revelation. The Stark family's trials, marked by downfall, scattering, and near annihilation, can also be interpreted as part of a larger cyclical pattern overseen by the old gods. The harsh, unforgiving North itself mirrors the family's resilience and endurance. Despite suffering immense losses and being pushed to the brink, the Starks remain rooted in their homeland, their survival seemingly ensured by unseen protectors. Yet this divine favor is not distributed evenly. Robb Stark's brutal demise at the Red Wedding, a massacre that shook Westeros to its core, raises unsettling questions about the old god's true allegiance. Was their protection selective, or did Robb's tragic end serve a greater purpose? Even in death, Robb's legacy lived on through his siblings, whose roles were crucial in the eventual restoration and continuation of the Stark line. His fall, painful and devastating, may have been a necessary chapter in the grander narrative written by forces beyond mortal understanding. Ultimately, the belief that the old gods love the Starks captures a central theme woven throughout the epic tale of Game of Thrones, that ancient mystical powers continue to shape the destinies of individuals and families, influencing events far beyond what mere mortals can grasp, whether through the silent guidance of the weirwood trees, the mystical bond with their direwolves, or the unyielding strength inherent in their bloodline, the Starks' connection to the old gods provides a spiritual lens that deepens the meaning of their story. As they confront war, betrayal, and loss, it is this quiet, enduring power of the North and its ancient deities that seems to shelter them against overwhelming odds. From the weighty presence of these ancient gods, the narrative shifts to a far more peculiar figure, Patchface, one of the most unsettling and enigmatic characters to grace the world of Game of Thrones. At first glance, Patchface appears to be little more than a fool, a jester entertaining Stannis Baratheon's court with his strange songs and erratic behavior. Yet, beneath this guise lies a complexity that many fans suspect holds crucial clues to the unfolding destiny of Westeros. His cryptic and often bewildering riddles are thought to contain hidden prophecies veiled within his nonsensical rhymes, offering glimpses into future calamities. Patchface's own story is as strange as his words. Once a slave boy hailing from the distant city of Volantis, he was said to be gifted with extraordinary wit and charm, qualities that captured the attention of Lord Stefan Baratheon, Stannis' father. So impressed was Stefan that he purchased the boy, intending to bring him to Westeros and perhaps elevate his status. However, fate intervened cruelly. The ship carrying Patchface, Stefan, and his family was caught in a fierce storm and wrecked off the coast of Storm's End. While all aboard perished, Patchface was found washed ashore, barely clinging to life. Yet the boy who emerged from the sea was changed irrevocably. No longer the sharp-witted youth known before, he returned marked by a haunting madness, speaking in riddles, strange rhymes, and fragmented verses. His face bore mottled tattoos of red and green squares, which earned him the nickname Patchface. But what truly set him apart were the eerie prophecies concealed within his words, words that seemed nonsensical yet resonated with unsettling truth. Theories abound regarding the nature of Patchface's transformation. Many believe that his near-death experience beneath the waves exposed him to supernatural forces, perhaps the drowned god worshipped by the Ironborn or some ancient sea magic. Whatever the cause, it appears to have granted him the gift or curse of foresight, though his predictions come shrouded in enigmatic phrases and surreal imagery. Some of Patchface's most disturbing utterances seem to foretell the deaths of key characters and catastrophic events that later unfold. One of the most haunting is his chant, "Under the sea, the birds have scales for feathers. I know, oh, oh, oh." To the casual observer, these may seem like the ramblings of a madman, yet many interpret this as a metaphor hinting at tragic fates, including that of Shireen Baratheon and others tied to the sea or fire. His repeated invocations of the sea and its mysteries evoke themes of death, the unknown, and forces lurking beyond the veil of life. Though Patchface primarily serves as comic relief within Stannis' court, his presence carries a subtle but profound weight for those who listen carefully. His close bond with Shireen, Stannis' only daughter, adds a layer of poignancy and dread. Shireen, afflicted with the cruel disease known as grayscale that scars her skin, embodies innocence amidst suffering. Patchface's ominous refrains, often whispered to her, grow increasingly chilling in light of her tragic fate in the story, lending a sorrowful undercurrent to their interactions. In this way, Patchface stands not just as a fool, but as a cryptic oracle, a figure who, despite madness and absurdity, may hold the key to understanding the hidden threads that weave through the tumultuous tapestry of Westeros. One of the more unsettling ways to interpret Patchface's mysterious and often bewildering messages is to see them as a dark prophecy foretelling the fall of House Baratheon. This is especially relevant when considering Stannis Baratheon's growing fixation on Melisandre's fiery visions and the enigmatic Lord of Light. As Stannis becomes increasingly consumed by Melisandre's magic and religious fervor, the seemingly nonsensical ramblings of Patchface begin to take on a chilling, almost sinister dimension. His cryptic utterances start to echo the turmoil and destruction that accompany Stannis' determined yet desperate campaign to seize the Iron Throne. In many ways, Patchface's strange behavior and eerie songs act as a cold, watery counterpart to Melisandre's passionate and fiery prophecies, his watery imagery providing a haunting contrast to her visions of flames and divine light. One particularly striking example of Patchface's unsettling foresight comes in his obscure references to what fans later recognize as the Red Wedding. Although his allusions are far more subtle and veiled than Melisandre's direct visions, they carry a disturbing resonance. Before the infamous massacre, Patchface sings of a feast beneath the sea, where fish devour men, an eerie metaphor that cleverly symbolizes the brutal betrayal and slaughter of the Starks at the Red Wedding. This feast beneath the waves can be interpreted as a chilling reference to the hosts who turned on their guests, consuming them figuratively in treachery. Moreover, the mention of fish seems to nod toward House Tully, whose sigil is a silver trout, hinting at their involvement in the grim event. While some might dismiss these connections as tenuous, they fit a consistent pattern in Patchface's speech. His words initially sound like meaningless nonsense, but reveal a deeper, often terrifying truth when hindsight sheds light on them. Beyond his eerie predictions, Patchface's enigmatic nature is further amplified by his mysterious origins and possible links to ancient magical forces within Westeros. The continent is a land steeped in the influence of various deities and arcane powers, from the old gods worshipped in the north to the fiery Lord of Light, embraced in the south. Many speculate that Patchface's near-death experience at sea was not merely a brush with mortality, but a profound encounter with some otherworldly entity or power tied to the ocean. Whether this entity was the drowned god or an even more obscure force, the transformation Patchface underwent after this event suggests that his apparent madness may be far from random. His strange behavior, haunting songs, and cryptic prophecies may all be remnants of his connection to an ancient and mystical power lurking beneath the waves. Taking this idea even further, some fans propose a more chilling theory, that Patchface might unknowingly serve as an agent of the others, those terrifying White Walkers from beyond the Wall who threaten all life in Westeros. His frequent references to cold, the sea, and death seem to eerily parallel the growing menace of the long winter and the undead army moving south. If Patchface is indeed linked to these dark forces, his presence within Stannis' court becomes a grim omen, potentially foreshadowing doom for those who place their trust in the Baratheon king. Yet the question remains, why would a seemingly insignificant, foolish jester be entrusted or cursed with such a pivotal role in the unfolding saga? Perhaps the key lies in his madness itself. Like Bran Stark's mysterious visions or Melisandre's fiery prophecies, Patchface's ramblings might represent a unique form of foresight, albeit one shrouded in confusion, chaos, and riddles. His words are often dismissed as the incoherent babblings of a madman, yet buried within that apparent nonsense could be vital clues about the future of Westeros, waiting to be deciphered. His repeated motifs of the sea, death, and strange otherworldly occurrences hint at a deeper truth, suggesting that there is much more to Patchface than meets the eye. Whether he is a true prophet, an unwitting pawn of dark, supernatural powers, or simply a tragic soul touched by madness, Patchface remains one of the most enigmatic and intriguing figures in the narrative. His cryptic songs and unsettling prophecies continue to baffle both fans and characters alike, weaving an eerie and mysterious thread through the rich tapestry of the story. Ultimately, what some call the Patchface Project is far more than just a collection of bizarre rhymes and riddles. It serves as a haunting window into the possible futures of Westeros, filled with veiled warnings and enigmatic references to events yet to come. Whether his words are ever truly understood or forever ignored, they add a profound and eerie dimension to the complex saga of Game of Thrones, leaving everyone to wonder just how much this seemingly foolish jester might really know. From the shadowed corners of Westeros to the ancient, mystical forces lurking beyond the Wall, there emerges one of the most chilling and unsettling theories woven into the intricate tapestry of the Game of Thrones universe, the haunting legend of Jojen Paste. This grim hypothesis spins a tale far darker than the familiar journey of Jojen Reed, a loyal companion to Bran Stark. What if, instead of simply guiding Bran on his path, Jojen met a fate so sinister it would forever stain the very fabric of Bran's transformation? According to this deeply disturbing notion, Jojen's death was not a mere casualty of their perilous quest. Instead, his body was transformed into a grotesque paste, a potent concoction fed directly to Bran to unlock and amplify his burgeoning mystical powers. If this theory holds any truth, it casts a long, eerie shadow over Bran's journey, transforming his path from one of destiny into a murky crossing of sacrifice, dark magic, and ancient rituals that challenge the boundaries of morality and the nature of power. It invites us to reconsider everything about the mysterious magic that Bran encounters. The ancient forces that shape him into the three-eyed raven are not just enigmatic, they are stained with blood and sacrifice. Jojen Reed, alongside his fierce and determined sister Mira, serves as Bran's essential guide beyond the Wall, a realm steeped in primeval magic and danger. As a green seer, one gifted with visions of the future, Jojen fully comprehends the weight of Bran's destiny, and his every action is tinged with the urgency and gravity that their quest demands. Yet as they trek further into the frozen wilderness, a growing sense of dread accompanies their steps. Jojen's cryptic words about his imminent death echo repeatedly, creating an ominous drumbeat beneath the surface of their mission. His behavior grows increasingly morbid, and his physical condition deteriorates visibly. The once vigorous young man is now pale, weak, and haunted, a living harbinger of doom. This theory draws much of its chilling power from a particularly unsettling scene in A Dance with Dragons, the 5th volume of the A Song of Ice and Fire series. Upon reaching the mysterious cave of the Three-Eyed Raven, Bran is presented with an eerie, blood-colored paste by Leaf, one of the enigmatic children of the forest. This strange substance is said to enhance Bran's already formidable powers, but its ingredients remain shrouded in secrecy and shadow. Fans have long speculated that this paste might contain the remains of Jojen, a theory supported by the ominous foreshadowing of Jojen's death throughout both the books and the show, despite his demise never being explicitly depicted. What makes this theory particularly compelling and chilling is how it entwines with the darker aspects of magic that permeate Bran's story. The Three-Eyed Raven's Cave is not merely a sanctuary of wisdom. It is a nexus of ancient, primordial power steeped in mystery and danger. The children of the forest, deeply connected to the old gods and the mystical weirwoods, wield magic that predates even the oldest known legends, a magic both profound and perilous. If the paste truly does contain Jojen's essence, it suggests the children are prepared to cross unimaginable boundaries, sacrificing one life to fuel another's ascension to power. This sacrifice echoes a recurring theme throughout the Game of Thrones saga, the inescapable cost of power. Magic in Westeros is rarely without its price. From the shadowy birth of Melisandre's shadow baby to the fiery resurrection of Daenerys' dragons, power is inextricably linked to blood and death. If Jojen's death was indeed necessary to unlock Bran's full potential as a Green Seer, it fits perfectly into this grim pattern, reinforcing the idea that magic demands sacrifice in the most visceral sense. One of the most poignant aspects of this theory is how it recasts Jojen's final days. His weakening body, his foreboding hints about his own death, and his steadfast determination to press forward despite the ominous signs all paint the picture of a tragic figure who accepts his fate, perhaps even embraces it for the sake of a greater purpose. Throughout their journey, Jojen's visions foreshadow his own demise, and as the group draws nearer to the cave, his resignation becomes more pronounced, his health waning in tandem with the growing intensity of Bran's magical awakening. Moreover, the consumption of human remains as a source of power, while unsettling, is not alien to the dark practices found in Westeros. The paste's description as tasting like blood adds a further layer of eerie plausibility to the theory. Though this may seem fantastical, the series repeatedly blurs the line between life and death, showing that magic is often fueled by rituals steeped in death and bloodshed. Bran's powers, after consuming the mysterious paste, surge dramatically. His visions grow clearer and more vivid, allowing him to peer not only into the past and present, but also glimpses of the future. While it's conceivable that his abilities would have naturally advanced over time, the precise timing of this mystical boost raises questions. Could the infusion of Jojen's essence in the paste explain this sudden and marked increase in Bran's power? This theory does more than add a dark twist to a beloved character's story. It resonates deeply with the overarching narrative of Game of Thrones, where power is always a double-edged sword and often comes at an agonizing price. Bran's rise to become the Three-Eyed Raven is not a simple tale of heroism, but one marked by sacrifice, pain, and the shadow of death. If Jojen's life was indeed sacrificed to ensure Bran's success, it stands as one of the many heartbreaking costs embedded in this saga of magic, destiny, and survival. Despite its grim overtones, this theory fits seamlessly within the established lore of Westeros. Blood magic, dark rituals, and the intertwining of life and death are integral to the series' portrayal of magic. The idea that Jojen was given over, his life ended so Bran might gain unparalleled power, adds a profound layer of tragedy to both their stories. A tragic friendship where one unknowingly consumes the other, and one willingly surrenders everything for the future of their world. Ultimately, the Jojen paste theory stands out as one of the darkest and most unsettling interpretations of Bran Stark's enigmatic journey through the world of Westeros. Although this theory remains unconfirmed and speculative, the mounting evidence scattered throughout the books gives it a chilling plausibility. Jojen's steadily deteriorating health, his cryptic and often unsettling remarks, and the mysterious blood-colored paste all weave together to lend significant weight to this haunting idea. Whether the theory is true or merely an eerie coincidence, it acts as a stark reminder of the immense price that power demands in the treacherous realm of Westeros. It reveals how those who dare to reach for control often become ensnared by forces far beyond their understanding or command, highlighting the perilous nature of ambition in a land where magic, loyalty, and betrayal collide. From the shadows of forbidden magic and mysterious pasts, we now turn our gaze to one of the most cunning and dangerous figures in the saga of Game of Thrones, the brilliant yet deeply flawed mastermind known as Littlefinger, or Petyr Baelish. A character shaped by ambition and relentless calculation, Baelish has been weaving his web of manipulation across Westeros since the earliest days of the story. Though his moves sometimes appear small or subtle, their impact is vast and far-reaching, setting off waves of chaos that ripple through the kingdoms and forever alter the delicate balance of power. Beneath his calm and soft-spoken exterior lies a mind as sharp and ruthless as a dagger's edge, driven by a singular, unyielding goal, the conquest of the Iron Throne. Baelish's tale begins far from the glittering courts and ancient halls of Westeros's great houses. Born into a minor noble family with little wealth and even less influence, he was an outsider in the grand game from the very start. Yet what he lacked in birthright and riches, he more than compensated for with a fierce ambition and a brilliant intellect. These traits became his weapons as he navigated the deadly world of Westerosi politics, outsmarting and outmaneuvering opponents who dismissed him as insignificant. From the very beginning, his manipulations were subtle but devastatingly effective, moving pieces on the political chessboard with the precision of a master strategist. One of Baelish's earliest and most pivotal moves involved the mysterious death of Jon Arryn, the Hand of the King. While the kingdom initially believed Jon Arryn's wife, Lysa Arryn, had killed him in a jealous rage, it was later revealed that she had acted under Baelish's influence and direction. This act of murder set off a chain reaction that plunged Westeros into chaos and ignited the War of the Five Kings. By sowing distrust and discord between the powerful houses of Lannister and Stark, Baelish ensured the realm descended into turmoil, a state in which he thrived and maneuvered with ever greater influence. For him, chaos was not an accidental byproduct, but a carefully cultivated ladder, each rung bringing him closer to ultimate power. As the war raged on, Baelish's machinations only grew more intricate and consequential. Perhaps one of his most notorious schemes was orchestrating the marriage between Sansa Stark and Ramsay Bolton. To outsiders, this seemed like a cruel betrayal of Sansa, placing her into the hands of a sadistic and brutal lord. However, beneath the surface, it was part of Baelish's long game to position himself as a dominant power broker in the north. His relationship with Sansa is a study in complexity. On one hand, she is a pawn to advance his ambitions, but on the other, there are subtle hints of genuine affection, twisted though it may be by his insatiable hunger for control. Throughout the War of the Five Kings, Baelish remained one of the few figures who consistently benefited from the widespread conflict. His cunning and ruthlessness culminated in his ascension to the role of Lord Protector of the Vale after arranging the death of Lysa Arryn, his former lover and ally. With the Vale under his control, a region strategically vital to the power struggles of Westeros, he wielded both military might and political clout to further his ambitions. Yet despite his growing power, Baelish's true intentions stayed shrouded in deception and intrigue. His ability to manipulate those around him was central to his success. He often cloaked himself in the guise of a loyal servant, all while deftly pulling strings from the shadows. Whether by pitting Lannisters against Starks or by sowing distrust among key players in King's Landing, Baelish's ultimate aim was always clear: to create enough chaos to position himself as the most influential, if not the outright ruler, of Westeros. His role in the War of the Five Kings exemplifies this perfectly. He never fully committed to any faction, instead ensuring that the war dragged on, steadily weakening the great houses while he quietly amassed power. One of the most chilling aspects of Baelish's character is the cold, methodical patience with which he pursues his goals. Unlike many of the impulsive and hot-headed figures populating Westeros, Baelish plays the long game. He understands that power is often fleeting and fragile in this brutal world, and that true dominance comes not from force of arms, but from knowledge, cunning, and manipulation. His ability to think several moves ahead, outwit those who are stronger or richer, and exploit weaknesses makes him one of the most formidable players in the Game of Thrones. A crucial element of Baelish's strategy is his unparalleled use of information. He cultivates an extensive network of spies, informants, and whisperers, ensuring that he is always privy to secrets others would kill to keep hidden. In this regard, he rivals even Varys, the so-called Master of Whisperers, with his capacity to gather and exploit knowledge as a weapon. Through this intricate web of intelligence and deception, Baelish controls the flow of information, shaping events to his advantage and securing his position as a shadowy puppet master in a world where power is everything. While Varys claims to dedicate himself to the well-being of the realm, wearing the mask of a loyal servant, Peter Baelish, better known as Littlefinger, makes no such pretense. His ambitions are brutally self-centered, a raw hunger for power that knows no boundaries. Littlefinger does not seek merely wealth or influence. His true desire is the Iron Throne itself. To achieve this, he is willing to sacrifice anyone and everyone, tearing apart families and kingdoms without remorse. Beneath his charming exterior lies a mind as ruthless as it is cunning. What makes Littlefinger particularly dangerous is his profound understanding of human nature. He studies the fears, desires, and vanities of those in power and wields these weaknesses like weapons. He approaches his targets as a humble confidant or ally, all while orchestrating schemes in the shadows. His manipulations sow discord, unravel alliances, and push the realm toward chaos, a chaos he plans to master and rule over. The climax of his tangled web unfolds when Sansa and Arya Stark, once his pawns, grow wise to his machinations. Littlefinger's downfall is marked by his failure to grasp the growing strength and unity between the Stark sisters. Their combined cunning finally outmaneuvers the man who had long been the master of intrigue. His trial in Winterfell exposes the depths of his betrayal. Yet even as his execution looms, Littlefinger's instinct to manipulate never dies. He desperately attempts to pit Sansa and Arya against one another, begging for his life with the last flickers of his deceitful charm. It is a fitting end for a figure who built his empire on lies, manipulation, and betrayal. The allure of this interpretation of Littlefinger's grand design lies in how it reflects the broader themes woven throughout the saga. Game of Thrones is not simply about strength or noble birthrights. It is a story where intelligence, cunning, and the art of manipulation define the true seat of power. Few characters embody this more completely than Littlefinger, whose genius was his uncanny ability to thrive amid chaos and turn even the bleakest moments to his advantage. His rise from a minor nobleman to one of the most formidable figures in Westeros is a testament to this. Ultimately, it is not a lack of power that brings about his fall, but his failure to realize that others had begun to master the very lessons he taught. The Starks, once his puppets, evolve into their own players of the game, using the tools he provided to bring about his demise. Yet his legacy endures. The turmoil and fractures he created ripple through Westeros long after his death, shaping the uneasy rebuilding efforts of the great houses. This theory of Littlefinger's cunning and downfall speaks to the heart of what makes the story so compelling. Power often resides in the most unexpected hands, and those who master the subtle art of manipulation can steer the fate of entire kingdoms. Whether or not his plans would have fully succeeded remains unknown, but the indelible impact of his schemes has forever altered the course of Westeros, leaving a shadow of chaos that lingers like a storm on the horizon. From the intricate dance of political puppetry, the story now shifts to a far more enigmatic figure, the Three-Eyed Crow. This mysterious entity guiding Bran Stark beyond the Wall is theorized to be none other than Brynden Rivers, known also as Bloodraven, a Targaryen bastard whose life is steeped in myth, magic, and political intrigue. As the Three-Eyed Crow, he becomes a pivotal force, steering Bran toward his destiny as the next Green Seer, a being with the power to peer through time and influence the very fabric of the world. Brynden Rivers was born to King Aegon IV Targaryen and a Blackwood mistress, a lineage that itself ties him to the ancient powers of the old gods. The Blackwoods are renowned for their connection to the mystical forces of Westeros, and it is this heritage that seems to have shaped Brynden's unique path. His striking pale complexion, the missing eye, and the red birthmark shaped like a raven on his cheek made him a figure both feared and revered throughout his life. Brynden's career was marked by moments of immense influence. Serving as Hand of the King and later as Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, he combined a sharp political mind with a profound understanding of sorcery and ancient magic. His exile to the Wall came after years of fierce loyalty and conflict, including his role in suppressing the Blackfyre rebellions, yet accusations of treachery led to his banishment. However, his story did not end with disgrace. Beyond the Wall, Brynden disappeared into the wilderness, a transformation beginning that would see him evolve into the Three-Eyed Crow, a guardian of knowledge and seer who transcends the limits of mortal time. This transformation remains shrouded in mystery, but it is clear that his deep mastery of magic and his unique bond with ravens and the sacred weirwood trees laid the groundwork. When Bran first encounters the Three-Eyed Crow in his dreams, the figure speaks in cryptic riddles, urging him to venture beyond the Wall. This guidance becomes essential to Bran's growth, ultimately leading him to the Children of the Forest, who reveal the full truth of his destiny. Brynden's evolution embodies the series' recurring themes of power, fate, and transformation. Once a master of politics and warfare, he becomes a timeless overseer of the realm's history and future. His ability to see beyond the constraints of time and intervene in events from the shadows perfectly reflects his journey from a mortal lord to a mystical green seer. He is, in many ways, a figure who has always operated in the hidden corners of power, manipulating outcomes unseen by others. Together, these two figures, Littlefinger and Brynden Rivers, highlight the diverse faces of power within the world of Westeros. Whether through ruthless political maneuvering or ancient magical insight, the true strength lies in the ability to shape the future from behind the scenes, weaving threads of destiny that bind the fate of kings and kingdoms alike. One of the most compelling strands of evidence linking the enigmatic Three-Eyed Crow to Brynden Rivers lies in his profound relationship with the ancient Children of the Forest. These mysterious beings, who once reigned over Westeros long before the arrival of men, embody a deep connection to the old gods and the potent magic woven through the weirwood trees. Brynden's unique heritage, born of Targaryen blood on one side and the Blackwood family, renowned for its steadfast devotion to the old gods on the other, positions him perfectly to form a mystical bond with these ancient forces. It is this rare convergence of lineage and lore that sets the stage for Brynden's transformation into the Three-Eyed Crow, a guardian of hidden knowledge and ancient power. Within the shadowed depths of the cave, Brynden becomes more than just a man. He integrates with the vast weirwood network, gaining the ability to perceive the world through the eyes of the trees themselves. This gift, known as green sight, allows him to communicate with those who are attuned to the magic of the old gods, granting him insight into events both past and future. As the green seer inhabiting the cave, He serves as a bridge between the natural world and the unfolding destiny of Westeros. But why is the Three-Eyed Crow so deeply invested in Bran Stark's journey? The answer lies in Bryndon's own history. Once the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, he bore witness firsthand to the growing menace lurking beyond the wall, the White Walkers, harbingers of death and destruction, unlike anything Westeros had seen for millennia. His commitment to Bran is far more than mentorship. It is a vital preparation for the coming storm. By guiding Bran's training in harnessing his green sight, Bryndon is not simply passing on knowledge, he is shaping the next generation's ability to confront and ultimately survive the existential threat looming over the realm. Every moment of Bryndon's life, every choice he has made has been a step toward this critical moment when the fate of Westeros will be decided. This role of guiding Bran is but a single facet of a much grander design. Unlike many figures in the story, consumed by political ambition or personal vendettas, the Three-Eyed Crow operates on a scale that transcends mere power struggles. His remarkable ability to peer through time, witnessing the past, observing the present, and glimpsing possible futures, grants him the rare capacity to influence key events, shaping the destiny of the entire continent. Through Bran, he ensures that the ancient magic of the Weirwoods and the wisdom of the old gods will not vanish into obscurity, but will remain a crucial force in the battle against the darkness. Bryndon's influence extends beyond just Bran's development, weaving itself into the larger narrative through his symbolic association with ravens. These birds, often harbingers of mystery and death, serve as messengers and guides, carrying the Three-Eyed Crow's will across the land. Their presence underscores the inescapable link between Bryndon's identity and the ancient powers at work. His distinctive raven birthmark, combined with his lifelong immersion in magic and secrecy, further cements his status as the ultimate green seer. It's the custodian of knowledge that spans centuries. Within the pages of the story, Bran's visions, facilitated by the Three-Eyed Crow's tutelage, offer profound revelations about Westeros' hidden history. Through these supernatural glimpses, we uncover the origins of the White Walkers, the foundation of the Night's Watch, and the ancient conflicts between the children of the forest and the first men. Each vision brings new context and depth, enriching our understanding of the present turmoil and the stakes at hand. The Three-Eyed Crow serves as both protector and mentor, a guide through the labyrinth of time and memory. The transformation of Bryndon Rivers into this mystical figure also reflects the series' deeper themes of legacy and continuity. While many characters focus on immediate gains, whether to seize power, exact revenge, or fulfill personal desires, the Three-Eyed Crow embodies a vastly different kind of strength. His purpose transcends selfish ambition. It is rooted in preserving the survival of Westeros across generations. By entrusting Bran with ancient knowledge, he ensures that the lessons of the past will fortify the battles yet to come, shaping the realm's future in ways both seen and unseen. The theory connecting Bryndon Rivers to the Three-Eyed Crow offers a rich, layered perspective on the unseen forces shaping Game of Thrones. It binds together threads of magic, history, and fate, revealing how a man born as an illegitimate Targaryen son evolved into a guardian of the realm's most profound secrets. Whether through his subtle influence on Bran or his crucial role in events beyond the Wall, Bryndon remains one of the saga's most enigmatic and potent figures. His legacy stretching far beyond the mere halls of power to touch the very fabric of time itself. As we navigate the intricate web of theories, conspiracies, and hidden truths woven throughout Game of Thrones, it becomes clear that Westeros is a realm where the known and unknown perpetually collide. The tales we explore, from the revelation of Jon Snow's true parentage to the whispered prophecies of Patchface, remind us that beneath every event lies a deeper mystery, a complex network of secrets waiting to be unraveled. Throughout the story, characters like Littlefinger maneuver in the shadows, spinning schemes that ripple through kingdoms, while ancient powers like the old gods quietly guide the fate of the North. The belief that every move on this chessboard of power is part of a greater, intricate plan lends these theories their undeniable allure. Even figures as seemingly insignificant as Missandei or as fractured as Sandor Clegane are subject to speculation, prompting us to question how much more lies beneath the surface. At the core of it all is the realization that Westeros is a land where power is rarely what it appears. Whether it's the machinations of Peter Baelish, the cryptic messages of Patchface, or the vigilant watch of the three-eyed crow, the game unfolds on many levels, each layered with meaning. Prophecies and ancient magic thread through the lives of characters, shaping events in ways both subtle and earth-shaking. From the distant past to the present day, every narrative strand circles back to a fundamental question: who truly holds control? The North, steeped in the protection of the old gods and their enduring influence over the Stark family, is fittingly the backdrop for Bran's journey into ancient magic. Guided by the three-eyed crow, an entity rooted in both the past and the future. These supernatural elements remind us that Westeros is not merely a world of political intrigue and warfare, but a realm shaped by forces far older and more powerful than any monarch. And yet, even amidst all this magic, it is often the simplest human emotions, ambition, loyalty, love, that drive the grandest upheavals. The conspiracies that toppled houses and shifted alliances arose not just from prophecy, but from the complex depths of human nature. It is this blend of the mystical and the mundane that gives Game of Thrones its unique, enduring magic. A story where anyone, at any moment, can alter the course of history. In the final reckoning, we are left with more questions than answers. Theories will continue to fuel debates, and fresh mysteries will inevitably emerge. Yet one truth remains. In Westeros, simplicity is an illusion, and the greatest power belongs to those who master chaos, bending it to their will. Whether through the dark enchantments of the Children of the Forest, the cunning stratagems of Littlefinger, or the vigilant presence of the old gods, the Game of Thrones never truly ends. And the deeper we delve, the more we realize just how much remains hidden, waiting for discovery.